Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 468. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
What is up?
This is a DC Comics podcast. It is a week 5, but it's a weird week 5 for us because we have books to catch up on from a couple weeks ago when I was sick and David was lazy.
Look, man, he doesn't normally read that many books, so the fact that he read those extra ones, that's good.
No, he does. You have no idea. He buys every book DC publishes, and not only that, every week for his New 52 show, he reads every book that came out on that week for the New 52, which sometimes is like 14, 15 books.
So you're asking him to read all of those for 1 week, and then adding up... Wait, you mean he reads those every single week? He reads everything that comes out from DC, past and now.
I mean, I don't know if he reads the new ones. Maybe he lets them fall behind a little bit. But
That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah, but every week for that New 52 show, he reads what came out on the corresponding week 10 years ago.
Yes.
That's what he does.
Yes. That makes sense to me. So to ask him to read however many books for that week, right? We did 5 by ourselves, and you're adding, 1, 2, 3, 4 today. So him to do 9 books plus the New 52 books, brother, he ain't Dan Mora. There ain't no system in place for him to do multiple stuff like that.
Slacking. I mean, this is a DC Comics podcast, everyone. We get together, talk about the books we read this week. Coming up on this week's show, like I said, it's kind of a mishmash. We got 3 books from this week. We got 4 books from 2 weeks ago. And then a Patreon book. So coming up, we've got Justice League Dark Tomorrow Special Issue 1, Nightwing Annual 2025 Issue 1. I also read Nightwing from 2 weeks ago because I didn't want to read this without being caught up on the main series, so I caught up in that as well for that. Batman Long Halloween, The Last Halloween Issue 8. And then from 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Detective Comics 1099, Superman Unlimited Issue 3, Wonder Woman 23, and The New Gods Issue 8. Plus, a Patreon book for me, I'll be talking about Batman and the Outsiders Issue 26. So that's what's coming up on the show this week. The one notable thing that's missing still from 2 weeks ago is Robin and Batman, Jason Todd, which I hit a limit of books, basically.
That's fine.
Is what happened there, but we'll see if I can catch up on that when the next one's coming out or whatever. But regardless, healthy enough show for this week, and we will get into everything in a bit. But Matt, how was your week?
Extremely busy. So I'm glad that when we're done here, I can go rest. I don't have to do anything, and I'll probably nap. So yeah, the end of summer's sneaking up on me quick. So yeah.
I mean, I had kind of a busy week. I was doing some extra recordings with Tim, kind of making up for the lost time when I was sick. Same with recording with David, which honestly, a lot of bad movies I watched this week for review.
Ooh.
I was pretty miserable, all things considered.
Which movies can you discuss?
Watched Barbarella for Ace.
Okay.
That did not work for me, I will say that. Saw the new I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
Not good.
I saw your star review on Letterboxd, and I was like, wow, Pete was too kind, because that is a movie that watching, I'm like, oh, Pete's hating this.
Oh,
He's not going to like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's cheap nostalgia through the wazoo, and it's like so forced. And I'm like, who cares about nostalgia? For I Know What You Did Last Summer, they're overestimating the importance of this franchise.
Well, the director did, because the director is apparently the biggest fan of that original movie. So much so, did you say through the post-credit or the mid-credit?
I saw the mid-credit scene, yes.
Yes. So much for that yes, it was a bit much. That said, I had a good time. We went on date night. I mean, I bribed my wife with a cherry icy, and we got to the theater, and they were doing some weird Smurfs promotion. So all the ices were blue, and they had no cherry. I've been covering my food because I fear she's going to poison me, as I made her sit through Jennifer Love Hewitt on the big screen with no cherry icy.
Oh yes, I forgot. Almost forgot about your weird wallet photo of Jennifer Love Hewitt, which got you into trouble.
Yes, years ago. It's not there anymore. but years ago.
I bet it is. I bet you've just got it hidden behind a photo of the wife, and it just comes out every so often.
No, she was smart on that. So she gets me wallets for gifts for birthday, Christmas, and there's no picture place. The only picture that's in there is my photo ID. So yeah, she wised up. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, there was that, and then I also had to watch the Wolfman that came out at the start of the year, which is not good either. I'm sorry to say.
Gosling dodged a bullet there.
But that one's more disappointing though, because the director's usually quite good. That one hurt that it was so bad. So
yeah.
Yes. Check out Male Fuzz Movies and the various shows that are on there. They all have their own podcast feeds, but the reviews of all these things will be coming in the forthcoming weeks. So yeah. Well, actually, I know the last summer's already out. Actually, that went straight out. But...
Oh, okay. So okay, I didn't want to step on your star rating, so I didn't know if that review was out.
That one's out. That one is out.
But yeah, and then, but it's okay. We have Weapons coming out next week.
I am looking forward to that. It's reviewing well.
Yes.
I'm feeling in high spirits for Weapons.
The little tidbit that makes me excited is that Jordan Peele fired his management team when he missed out on getting the rights to do that. Now, I don't know if he was going to produce it or direct it, but apparently that script was that good that he got upset with his management team. And I was like, y'all are gone. I don't lose. So very, very, very excited to see what comes out. That trailer creeps me out. I've gotten it a couple times, and it just gives me like the oof. Oh, see if the movie lives up.
I'm looking forward to that one. Plus, I'm way behind on TV stuff for review, so I've been trying to get back into that and get caught up. But I've not even started the new Strange New World season. I've only done one episode of Squid Game season 3, and that's been out for like 3 weeks. So things are hectic. But hey, you know what? Having plenty to do and struggling to find time is more interesting than sitting around with nothing to do. So.
I disagree. I would love to have nothing to do.
Well,
Hooey.
Nah.
Oof.
I got bored. Anyway, we'll get into things. This is going to be your Kindle rankings, formerly known as the Comicsology Top 10. I did check it in advance. There's no books missing this week. Last week's.
Did we ever find out what happened with the? Yeah, did we ever find out what happened with the last week's books?
No idea. No idea what was going on. Weird. Just Amazon being weird with their system, I guess. But yeah, we're looking at the Kindle rankings as at the time of recording for books sold via Kindle, which is where you can buy comics, digital comics, because ComiXology, RIP, is long deceased. What was your guess for number one, Matt?
So there's two kind of eventy things. You got one at DC, which is Dark Tomorrow. Then the other one's called Gods, One World Under Doom. Right? Both are kind of low on the list of the Comic Geeks. I'm going to go with the One World Under Doom as number one.
Nope.
Oh, God. Is it? All right, Justice League Dark Tomorrow.
Nope.
Really? Wow, my tried and true method is failing me once again.
I don't think you're going to get this in a million years.
All right, so that tells me it's something different.
Which is not to say that it's some weird, obscure, like, other publisher.
No.
It is from the big two, but I still don't think you'd get it. Unless you just started guessing and went through all the options.
Don't tell me it's Sonic in DC.
No, it's not Sonic.
Okay. All right, tell me what it is.
It is the Titans Annual.
What?
I know, I don't get it either.
Cool. I'm so far behind on Titans. I would love to get caught up, but it's just one of those things where I'm on the cosmic treadmill, just seeing it get further and further away. So, good for Titans.
That's what it is.
Titans stays up.
Number 2 is Justice League Dark Tomorrow, so that is the higher of the event books. Number 3 is Last Halloween, so DC taking the top 3 slots. Number 4 is Ultimate Spider-Man. Number 5 is Ultimates. Number 6 is the Nightwing Annual. Number 7 is the Flash Annual. Number 8 is the DC's California Love special. Number 9 is God's One World Under Doom. So you were way off with that, I guess.
Big off.
Yeah. And then number 10 is Spider-Man versus the Sinister 16. Make the number bigger.
That's a lot.
Yeah, make the number bigger.
Yeah.
If all else fails.
10 foes. By the way, that wasn't the Flash annual that came out this week. It was Flash 23.
Oh, sorry, Flash 23. I just I assumed it was an annual because it was week 5. Sorry.
Right, because of this week. Yes, I just didn't want to confuse people thinking that there was a Flash annual out this week. No,
23. Yeah, just the Flash book that came out this week is what was there at number 7. Gotham City Sirens book came out at number 11. The Sonic DC book was number 12, and I think that's everything DC put out this week, pretty much, barring reprints and whatnot. So, yeah, DC did well on week 5, despite only having a limited number of books. Maybe DC. I wonder if there's a little shift towards DC in sales just because the Superman movie is quite popular and doing well.
So I have heard, people get all caught up on the box office numbers and whatever, and Superman not making, the billion or whatever, but comic books have reported more walk-in traffic, right? People coming in that want to get interested in comics, not just Superman, but comics in general, which is good. That's just a good vibe to be having right now. Yeah.
Superman's doing decently. It's got good legs, especially domestically. Everyone expected Fantastic Four to make more money, and it isn't. Fantastic Four's legs are not very good. Its second weekend is looking to maybe be sub 40 million, which is a huge drop.
It's about 80% of a drop, from what I've heard. Look, I hate to be tribalist because, again, I want superhero movies to be good across the board. However, all this talk about they were supposed to be released on the same week, and then they moved Superman forward, and that DC blinked or whatever. And it was like, no, DC did what they needed to do. And they put out a better movie, and that's just how it goes. People are responding. So
it's doing not like amazingly better, but it is doing better, and it feels like a little bit arrogant on like Kevin Feige or Marvel's part. I think what's notable for them though is that every movie they've put out this year has kind of underperformed. Like I think the new Captain America and Thunderbolts like only got to about 400 million, which is not a lot for these types of movies. So they're in a like people talk about superhero fatigue, and I don't necessarily think that's not real, but I do think Marvel fatigue is definitely a thing.
Absolutely.
So
it's what I was worried about when they started rolling out all the shows and the multiple movies a year. People only have so much bandwidth. Like, yes, it's great. Again, as a comic book fan, I like seeing all this stuff entrenched into culture. However, when even I'm getting fatigued, we didn't go see Fantastic Four until during the week. We used to be day one Marvel viewers. And now we're like, we'll wait till discount day.
Yeah, you still saw it in the first week, though. It's not like you're like...
Yeah, well, but still, we went on Tuesday and not on, Friday like we used to. So,
well, I've seen Superman twice, and I have no intention of seeing Fantastic Four. Now, admittedly, I've not wanted to see a Marvel movie in the theaters in over, 5 years at this point, but...
I will see, if it does. If you get a chance to watch Thunderbolts, I'm curious of your thoughts.
I did watch that. I watched that at home.
Oh, you did?
I watched that a couple of weeks ago.
Did you like it?
It was fine. I didn't think it was like people had buzz about it and they were saying how great it was, but in the back of my head I'm like, is it actually great or is it just great compared to what Marvel's been putting out recently? And I think that's more what it is. Yeah,
so I will say that the messaging of it got me in a way that Fantastic Four's messaging, just to compare the two because they're the two most Marvel that have come out. I feel it was the more complete of it hitting what its theme was. So that one just, mental state, doing whatever, that one hit me right in the feels in a way that few Marvel movies have. So, but again, that's me. I'm broken. I'm much like Florence Pugh's character in that movie.
I liked its core message. I still think the movie's a bit bland. Like, there's just something about the way those movies are written and directed that just isn't that exciting and hasn't been for a while. So I don't know. It does not leave me with any kind of I checked that one out because there was some kind of level of, hey, this one's good. I don't know if I'll be tempted to even check out Fantastic Four when it's available at home. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. It just kind of depends on my mood.
The real question, though, have you seen Harrison Ford as Red Hulk?
I did not watch that movie, no.
Because if you thought that Thunderbolts were just kind of I would love to see what you think about Captain America: Brave New World, because that movie's somewhat a mess.
Yeah,
it's enjoyable, but it's messy. So,
well, you're the first person I've heard say it's enjoyable. Every single opinion I've heard is that movie is not good.
Yeah, it's no. I had a good time with it, but again, I also
you can't be trusted. You cannot be trusted at all.
Again, we went on like a Tuesday at the theater to ourselves. Popcorn was really good that day. It 100% a mess, but I had a good time. I just wish they had kept some of the, Harrison Ford as Hulk a secret. Like, we all kind of knew. We know who Thunderbolt Ross is. We didn't need it to be in the, trailers in every single marketing spot. Kind of kills that third act. And that's it. It's not really a Captain America movie. It's another backdoor Hulk movie, which makes me wonder why they can't do stuff with the Hulk. The
rights are still. I think the rights are still wonky, where they're not allowed to do a solo Hulk movie. Yeah, like they're allowed to have him in other movies, but they're not allowed to do a solo because Universal still kind of have some claim to that or something. I don't know.
That is wild.
Yeah. Well, they just announced he's going to be in the next Spider-Man, like the regular Hulk. That is. Yeah. So
again, backdoor Hulk movie.
Which Hulk's good and all, so I'm not necessarily complaining. The thing is though, is that like there's nothing coming from Marvel in the next few years. Like, honestly, these new Avengers movies that are coming out just feel like cameo fests or like, nostalgia fests that I can't be that excited. Like, it's such an easy thing to say, but I think for a lot of people, and I think I'd throw myself in here with this, is that Endgame was just a really nice place to be like, well, that's the ending. I'm done.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything else is bonus time, right? Like, if we get an enjoyable movie after that, great. But it just felt like they were just throwing stuff out to throw stuff out. And yeah, Endgame was the last time I was fully moved by a Marvel movie. In fact, I think it was the last Marvel movie I went and saw twice, right? Because Endgame necessitated that. It's this big epic, I
didn't. Superman's the first movie I've seen twice in the theaters in about 10 years.
I'm shocked you went back and saw it. That makes me feel great. Because you're not a repeat viewer in the theaters.
I used to be when I was younger. I used to do it all the time, but I haven't done it in like 10 years, but I did it for Superman. And, for anyone who's, obviously we're on a DC show, so I don't know if any of our audience would even care, but if anyone's like, oh, you're shitting on the MCU, what about these DC movies the last, like, I didn't see any of those either. I did not see, like, Black Adam or Flash or Shazam 2 or Aquaman 2 or Blue Beetle. I had no interest whatsoever. I didn't want to be miserable anymore. That entire DC movie universe, like, I wanted nothing to do with past a certain point.
All right, so I haven't seen all of them, but I will say, out of the ones that you mentioned, Blue Beetle, probably on par with something that Marvel's put out recently. All right, so we'll say that. Compared to the rest of them, though, it felt like cinema. Like,
that's the thing, though. I'm not interested in revisiting that universe. Like, I am happy to leave that in the rearview mirror. I'm never thinking about it again.
See, I want to rewatch Blue Beetle now because now that I've watched Cobra Kai, and that's Miguel. At the time, I was like, oh, this is just this new young actor. I don't know who he is. Now that I know him from a different show, I wonder if it would change how I interpret certain things in Blue Beetle. Yes. Everything I've seen about the Flash movie has been by, not against my own will. Like, people keep posting videos and stuff online and how bad it looks. I was like, oh, I'm never watching this. Like, you have to pony up a good sum to get me to watch The Flash.
It's so monumental to me that a Flash movie came out and I not only couldn't be bothered to go see it, I actively was repulsed at the idea of going to see it. The fact that they did that, and I love The Flash as a character, is astonishing. Like, it's astonishing we got to that point with that universe. So yeah, good riddance. All hail the new DCU. Yep. I'm all here for it.
That's right. James Gunn, Matt Reeves, let's just keep cooking. Yeah, keep the good stuff coming out.
Do you know what weird? Admittedly, it's only one movie, so it could all go tits up very quickly if the next few are not good. But
knock on wood that it doesn't.
Yeah, obviously we're not hoping for that. But right now, it feels very reminiscent to like finally getting out of the New 52 and getting into like the era after that, which was Rebirth. That's kind of what it feels like right now for the movies. We're like, oh, there's hope. These might actually feel like these characters, and this might actually feel like a a universe I want to be in, where I want to keep going back to, where I'm excited for it.
Yeah, there's parts in Superman that I just want to go back to the theater and watch on the big screen again. Right? It made me, it's why I read comics. It's why I like to revisit certain comics. There's just certain things that show up there that, and I haven't felt like that as a DC fan in a while. And you're pretty spot on with comparing it to the New 52, because there's not a lot about the New 52 I want to go back and revisit.
No,
you know?
No.
So, Rebirth era, though, there's a lot of good stories in there that I could touch back on from time to time. So, just DC, that's kind of what they do, right? There's a crisis, and the new universe comes from it. So, here we are.
Yeah, when the universe that we were in was bad, we're all praying for the crisis to come and fix everything.
we're looking for Darkseid in the red skies, man.
Dear. No, I mean, I think DC comic book wise has, obviously there's some duds here or there. There is always going to be with so many books, but I think there's been consistently a good selection to love since Rebirth, and that's been, almost 10 years now.
Yeah. It's funny. There are two big moments I'll always remember, and one was when they brought Wally back as the Flash. I remember where I was when I read that, and then the other one is when they announced Rebirth at that panel. And we hopped on here, me, you, and Connor, to talk about it real quick. And those are two big moments that will always stick with me from DC. So, and not a lot of it's fun to beat up on the negative stuff, but those ones where it fills you with that hope that things are changing for the better. Yeah, it is. It hits like a drug.
And what you just described for any new listeners was episode 0 of the show. So anyway, we've got books to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Let's get into things. So we'll kick off with Justice League Dark Tomorrow Special Issue 1, Marc Guggenheim, with Mark Waid writing and Cian Tormey on the art. So,
sick name.
What was that?
What'd you used to call Guggenheim?
Uncle Googie?
Uncle Googie, that's what it was.
Yeah, when he was writing
I know it was something like that.
The TV shows, which weren't very good. So maybe there will be a Dark Tomorrow event at some point, but right now, this is kind of like a one shot that's leading into a few different things that are happening soon. Some of this stuff is going to be continued in KO, which we know is coming. Some stuff's going to be continued in Superman Dark Legion that's going on right now, and I think there's another one they say at the end, but this is kind of like setting up just like if I'm going to give a compliment to the DC editorial overall right now, is that it does feel very focused, and that clearly we're building to whatever's happening that's coming from the Absolute Universe, Darkseid's return, all that stuff, his Legion, which is what this eventually gets to, is we have another Darkseid Legion member by the end of this issue. But this to me felt like a very classic DC event, first issue.
I was gonna say, it reminded me of Countdown to Infinite Crisis.
Yeah, I can see that comparison.
Where it felt like there was all these things going on, and we were touching on little pieces, and then, out of Countdown to Infinite Crisis, they had those 4 books that had come out. It was like Villains United, OMAC Project. I can't remember the other 2 off the top of my head. But that's almost how this felt, where there's going to be 4 stories, and they're not necessarily going to be miniseries, right? But we'll follow those threads in a couple of these other books. And
before we get to
like that
whatever the eventual event is, maybe next year or whenever it's going to be.
But it feels like they're taking steps to make it feel like a cohesive universe in ways that they haven't in recent years, right? Everything's been kind of compartmentalized. Yet here it definitely feels like, they're jumping at what Waid had done in Justice League
Unlimited. I don't think I agree that it's been compartmentalized really for a long time.
But the stuff in Batman, right, that was happening, it felt untouched by some of the other stuff that was happening in even other Batman books, right? So it felt like, here it feels like that universe is a lot closer together.
But that's always been the case for a lot of the solo books. I think more what we're getting at here is that this feels like an event where it is kind of affecting a number of books which are going to feed into it. And that maybe they haven't done that as much, which is why I'm saying that this feels very focused and it feels like the editorial's doing a good job of keeping it all kind of together. But I don't think because the New 52 is what I think of when I think of a DC universe that feels fragmented and doesn't feel like they all fit together. So I don't know. Like, I think to me, one of the things this does that also makes it feel like a classic DC event to me is that it starts with a obscure character who most of us don't know that well, but is going to be a important part of what's going on, at least to kick off with. And the plot here is that these, what they end up calling Omega demons, which are just these like figures with Omega symbols in their face. So obviously we were immediately connecting it to Darkseid in some way. But they're hunting time travelers, and you know, the Wave Rider gets killed, Extant gets killed, you know, a whole bunch of time travelers in different eras get killed, and then we kind of meet the character who's narrating, and we don't know who that is, right? We know it's a time traveler, and they purposely conceal their identity to the point where when they eventually end up at the Watchtower and they're talking to some Justice League members, they flat out say, I shouldn't tell you who I am because that might cause some weird paradox, and I have to keep. But there's little hints throughout of like, you know, this character's backstory. I think it's a woman based on one line of dialogue that comes later on. That's
curious.
Yeah, because there's a moment where they say something and then they follow up with like, oh well, a girl can dream, which made it sound like them saying it about themselves.
Okay.
But I mean, we get back to it. We can analyze it a bit more thoroughly. But
because it could literally be anybody because the suit that they're wearing, and they're going by Legend, which I thought was funny, being that this is Guggenheim, right? And Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, even the Wave Rider ship is from same thing from that show.
And yeah, but it's very feature obscuring down to the mask, the suit. Like it could, again, literally be anyone.
Yeah,
so
I
have no guesses.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about like a gender before that one line made me think, oh, that makes it sound like it's a woman. And then I was looking at the suit afterwards, thinking, oh, that could be a woman in there. Like, I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
The suit is definitely working to hide whoever it is. So as for guesses to who it is, I have no idea. But you presume it's someone that everyone's going to know.
There's someone that you're gonna know, and also assuming that it's a time traveler as well, right? Because of what's been going on.
Yes. However, though, I would point out though that it doesn't necessarily have to be someone who's a time traveler yet. This could be someone who becomes a time traveler in the future.
Timey-wimey. This is the timey-wimey stuff that I do love, right? Right, because there's a point where we get to Vanishing Point, and they seem to have familiarity with it, which makes me think of the Rip Hunter and the Time Masters. There we go. I knew I would get there. But it makes me think it might be somebody from their crew, but then it's also someone that seems like they're familiar enough with the Justice League, right? I was getting some Booster vibes a little bit here and there, right? So I remember Booster had a sister at one point. So yeah, and again, literally could be anybody the timey-wimey space. And then
but the funny thing is, Matt, is that I think it's more likely it's someone else who's in this book.
You think it's someone? It's one of these characters here?
That line about being a paradox, I'm like, if this turns out to be older Gold Beetle, I'm like, like that. Yeah, that completely makes sense. Why the identity has to be concealed.
And that makes sense too, because they get that character beat about blitzing or blitzing out. What do they call it? Glitching
out. Yeah.
Oof, I can't talk today. Glitching out. So I mean, yeah, that could be. Because I definitely like the mystery, and that it feels like it's something they're going to keep going. Because I half expected to maybe get a slight reveal towards the end, like a little bit more of a hint. And we don't. We're just, Legend is the character that we're going forward with.
Yeah, I thought we might reveal at the end of the issue, and obviously it doesn't. But this is just the start of like this next event cycle and all the building up. Like, I appreciate that we seem to be building to something, and I'm not even. Yeah. I don't even think KO is the main event. I think KO is an event, but I think it's building to something after that. In totality.
I feel like KO is going to lead pieces, just like little breadcrumbs. But I think that whatever's left after KO, because what we know about that tournament and Ultimate Power and whatever, I definitely think that's just a stepping stone to get to the next big thing that's coming.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think KO is going to be where our heroes meet the absolute versions. I don't think that's coming till later. No. So, which I like is because I think, you want to have time for the absolute versions to really establish themselves and have a few arcs under their belt and all the rest of it. Basically, Legend decides I can't, like, you know, fight these things on my own, and it cuts to the Watchtower, and we get the little plot line about Gold Beetle coming for help because she's glitching out of time, and it hurts. It feels like she's dying. They don't know how to fix it. They talk a little bit about the time displaced heroes, which was one of the interesting things that is funny to me about comics, is that the whole story we just got in Justice League Unlimited and World's Finest, which, by the way, there's an editor's note in this comic that says the instant classic, tomorrow, yesterday, whatever it was called. And I thought, all right, hold your horses a little bit. There was nothing instantly classic about it. It was
that
perfectly...
is too much editorializing there, guys.
It was okay at best. But what I think is really interesting sometimes about comics is that even though I was lukewarm in that story by the end, like the last issue of it that we just did last week, I flat out kind of disliked, is that this book, this issue is quite well written, right? And it feels like, this is not doing the Marc Waid thing where just things show up. Like, it sets up this character who's been hunted by these time-traveling killer Omega people, and then it establishes new character beats, it establishes new characters, well, not new characters, but like these time-displaced heroes. We got Amazing Man sitting chatting with Airwave, and it sets up them a little bit, and, you know, gives you enough to get to know them a touch, get to know that Airwave's still feeling guilty about his part in what happened, get a little bit of Amazing Man's character in that he's from the 40s, and then, like, you know, this character crashes into the station, and, you know, wakes up and tells them about why they're there, and that, you know, this time traveling hunter thing's happening and needs help. And they put a team together, right? And it's these time displaced heroes that are put together. It's Batman Beyond, Marilyn Moonlight, the Huntress, and Jonah Hex. Now it's Earth 2 Huntress, or alternate timeline Huntress, maybe it's better, because if it's the same one from JSA. But, you know, it's
the daughter of Batman and Catwoman. Yeah,
well, that's the point I'm getting at. But obviously that's not, like, that could be the future Huntress that was in the alternate timeline from Johnsy's JSA that happened before Lemire's, rather than Earth 2 Huntress.
Right. I was gonna say it's Helena, but that's also her name because it's Helena Waid, not Helena Bertinelli. So they make out of the way that it is the daughter of Batman and Catwoman.
Yeah, they specify that. But I think what's interesting here is that I kind of groaned when, like, Marlon Moonlight showed up in Unlimited. But here, because it's not tied to just being thrown into the middle of a book, and it's like set up as a team that's getting put together to go and deal with, like, this stuff, and because technically these characters all count as time travelers now, they're targets for these Omega things, so they have, like, a vested interest in helping. Like, all of a sudden, I was enjoying the status quo of having these time displaced heroes in a way that I was not enjoying when they actually did it in that previous story. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of weird how this feels like a really, like, well-used status quo here, but the thing that set up the fact that they're all here, I didn't think was very good. And I feel like that happens sometimes in comics, where sometimes, and even though Waid's involved in both, like, sometimes they take something that wasn't quite working, but then, the new story that comes out of it once that thing's happened can still kind of work sometimes. And I guess it happens in TV shows as well, I guess, when things bounce back from a quality perspective once they get out of an arc that maybe wasn't working quite as well. But I don't know.
We didn't like how they got there, but we're going to like where they're going kind of vibe, right? Like, there's a lot of potential here with these characters. Yeah, and just like, again, with Marilyn Moonlight, I haven't been given a reason to really enjoy her outside of her look, right? Because she doesn't...
going to be so wild, Matt, if we get more character development for her in whatever's coming from this than we did.
Is it going to be wild knowing that that's kind of Williamson's bag, right? Like, we know that, but, like, just the fact that she hasn't done much in Superman, you know, she just has kind of shown up, and here, you know, she doesn't do much here yet, but there seems to be a vibe to her that she fits in with the rest of these heroes, right? You have Terry McGinnis, who his reputation precedes him. He's one of the only characters that's kind of pre-existing behind that we have, you know, background with.
Well, Jonah Hex.
I mean, Jonah Hex as well, right? But, like, with Marilyn Moonlight and this version of Huntress and whatever, it's an open book to do with whatever we want with Marilyn Moonlight, right? Because, it's awesome that she has a cool look. Now let's see where she's going from here, you know, and it's not just going to be in the pages of Superman, you would think. So
yeah, I mean, all of a sudden, because it's not just Williamson writing her, there might be some interesting stuff that comes out of her. So that's cool. Gold Beetle comes in the team as well, which makes sense, and she's kind of also invested in this. Plastic Man tags along as well for reasons. But
well, isn't there another Plastic Man that's been displaced, so they need to make sure they don't get close?
Yeah, no, I think he went back to his own time. I think he was one of the ones that blinked back to his, because this is definitely present day Plastic Man, because the other one that was out of time was the Terrifics version of Plastic Man. So
yeah, because they say once you assigned, or Marilyn really asked him, were you assigned to this team shapeshifter? And he goes, yeah, Mr. Terrific said there was one too many plas on the there was one plas too many on the watchtower.
Yeah, I took that as
I'm not gonna explode.
I took that as a joke that he just didn't want any Plastic Mans around. That's what I read that as.
One is too many.
Yeah, one is too many.
Yellow Brian.
Yeah, so they go off to try and save Kronos. And yeah, I don't even.
Kronos?
Did they succeed?
Kronos is a witch villain. Yeah, no. Hey, he says sorry, Kronos. The Adam asked me to say hi.
Yeah, they punch him out. Yeah,
punch him out. Get him to where they need to get him to. But yeah, what I do like is that from the time that John's brought Airwave back, it seems like they're going out of his way to make Airwave feel like a big deal. And I'm wondering what that's about. I don't know if it's because his power is primarily like frequency, and that's what is a big thing in the DC universe, right? Is the different vibrational, this, that, and the other. If it's just his powers make him a perfect kind of crux for this. But I love how much development he's getting as a character. All the different pep talks that he's gotten. It's quite nice.
Yeah, also, just to go back to the page where they introduce the team, the narration here is where I was getting I think it's maybe a woman that's this legend. Because it says, Hex and I have got a history together, again, literally. Also says that Terry McGinnis is future Batman, literally, blah, blah, blah. And then at the bottom, after the Jonah Hex comment, they say, can't say the same for Marlon Moonlight, though. Don't blame a girl for wishing. Which implies to me that that's her saying she wished she had a history with Marlon Moonlight.
Right.
Now, maybe I'm reading it wrong, but that's how I read that.
Yeah, in the moment, I kind of just skimmed over that, right? But no, I feel like that is a pretty hefty clue. Yeah.
Yeah, so, anyway, wanted to just mention where I got that from, in case it does become an important thing. But yeah, so basically they have Airwave sort of try and sense the time stream or whatever. Legend says, hey, your powers will allow you to sort of detect where these anomalies are coming from. You can do this. So he has a little pep talk kind of moment, and they end up going to Vanishing Point, and there's a tower there, and people are already there doing shady things. So we get a bit of a fight sequence, and they're fighting this Darkseid Legion-esque character. I couldn't have told you which one it was until they said who it looked like.
Oh no, yeah, that's Shadow Lass. She's from the planet Umbra, so control shadows and whatnot.
Very good.
Yes.
Very good, you nerd.
Of course.
So anyway, she does sort of gloat at one point. Darkseid is coming. So whatever they're doing, all this prepping that they're doing, this is Darkseid's Legion from the Absolute Universe is prepping stuff in the main universe for Darkseid's grand return. So it does feel big. It feels like we've been building to this, and that we're everything's kind of focused into this idea of that being the center of all the big stories that are happening for the events in universe wide for the next little while, which does feel crisis big. It may not technically be a crisis, but it feels on the same scale of that, which is cool.
It's feeling like we haven't done a time crisis since 0 Hour, right? Where every crisis has been this big multiverse type thing, but here it's feeling like it's less multiverse and more time stream with the time displaced heroes. They're all from the same.
We're doing time stuff just now. I don't know if we're going to be doing time stuff when we actually get to the big story with Darkseid actually coming back.
I just feel that the fact that it's with Darkseid, it is going to play into the timeline, right? Because there is just, when it gets to the New Gods, it always seems like there's only just one version of them, right? That goes across the different type of multiverse type stuff. So I definitely feel like we're leading into Darkseid and time and if he's going to try to remake this universe along the lines of Absolute Universe, it makes sense, right? Because I definitely don't feel like the whole point of whenever they do crossover is going to be like the Absolute Universe versus this universe. I feel it's going to be this big unifying story stopping Darkseid from...
Oh, sure, but I don't know why you think Darkseid's going to try and remake the universe like the Absolute one. If anything, I feel like he would just be coming back to... I mean, maybe that's the ultimate goal, but I think it's going to be Darkseid and his Legion trying to kill the League and take over, like, you know, maybe destroy, maybe rebuild after. Maybe he wants to build the universe after that, but... yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much the time travel stuff is going to play into it once we get into the actual main story. It feels like the build up, like they're obviously up to something that's going to like help whatever their plans are. Maybe stopping time travelers is just simply to stop any time travelers from warning them what's coming. It could be that simple. It's like, hey, we don't want any time travelers to say, hey, Darkseid is coming with this army or anything like that.
Oh, and that makes sense too, if he has this perverted Legion, right?
Yeah.
That you know, who are from the future, so where he's one, you know, the Great Darkness and whatever. But yeah, no, I love the timey-wimey stuff. It's a lot of fun because especially with dealing with a lot of the different multiverse stuff over the last couple years, taking a different approach with the time displaced heroes versus multiverse versions is kind of fun. And yeah,
it also feeds into like how this issue ends, because after they have this interaction, they try to go back home, back to the 21st century and back to the Watchtower. There's a big, what do they call it? A temporal firewall that stops them from getting back, so they're trapped here. And the final line of the book is Airwave saying, it looks like someone doesn't want us going back to the 21st century. And I can only assume it's like they don't, you know, because they don't want them to be warned that Darkseid is up to something, that he's coming. So, yeah, but that's where it ends. It says
that's just what
it says. The story continues in Justice League Unlimited, DCKO, and Legion of Darkseid continues in Superman 28. So those are the books that are all continuing this Darkseid Absolute stuff.
This temporal firewall, though, is the same thing that Grodd did during the We Are Yesterday, right? And that's what kept Superman and Batman away from everything while it was going on. So yeah. So I'm sure they'll find a way, but I really like this team. If this is kind of what the Justice League Red is set to be, is something like this with these time displaced heroes and whatnot. Because I like ragtag groups that are kind of thrown together. And again, we're also going to see Jonah Hex teaming up with Plastic Man.
That was the other clue, actually. At one point when they mentioned the ragtag team, Legend said, "Oh, they or she laughs." And then says, I just know ragtag very well, which again suggests maybe certain people. I don't really have a guess right now, to be honest, but
yeah, me neither.
Curious all the same. So, no, I mean, I thought this was a solid one shot. As far as like sort of setting up and teasing what the next big event's going to be, I had a good time. I enjoyed this more than any of We Are Yesterday, honestly. As far as story goes, I mean that had a couple of good character bits, like the bit where Bruce and Dick saw Alfred again, and stuff like that. But as for story, for like excitement for where things are going, this was better for sure. So, I hate to give Uncle Googie credit for anything. Yeah. But
well, I will say that from the work on CW, Guggenheim's really good at character dynamic or group dynamics, right? So I'm not surprised here that it nails that aspect more than anything, the interplay here. So, I feel like Legends of Tomorrow was his like pet project. He had to do kind of more of it here.
Yeah, but you say that, but all of the shows were group shows because he couldn't just have a hero be on their own. Right. Everyone had an entire ensemble, and those shows sucked. So I don't know if I agree with your assessment of his group.
Well, here it didn't suck. Here it was handled really well.
All right. As far as the art goes, CM Tormey, it's solid enough. I mean, I don't think I have anything particularly notable to say about it. It's very house style, I would say, across the board. It's solid and dependable, and didn't really upset me, or there was nothing where I went, oh, that looks a bit off, or that looks a bit strange. But I also wouldn't say that it ever stood out and impressed me like greatly either. Just dependable.
Hmm.
All
I
right.
agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, in that case, what are you rating Justice League Dark Tomorrow?
It's A7.
A7. Um, I feel like I had a good time with this. Maybe going at 8's a bit too high, so I'll say 7.5. I feel like I want to give it the extra little bit, but I don't want to overestimate it either. So there you go. That is Justice League Dark Tomorrow's special issue 1. Nightwing Annual 2025 issue 1. Dan Waters writing with Francesco Francavilla on the art. And obviously we're always happy to see Francavilla back, and this is a return to this book for Francavilla because he did those 2 issues which were very Maggie Sawyer focused, which this also is, interestingly. So this is set on the outside of the tower, which is obviously the current storyline going on. There's references to it. You see it in the background a couple times, but this is more about Maggie Sawyer's investigation into who the lady from Spheric is. And we get flashbacks and backstory to both who she is and also a bit more understanding of who the Zani is. So while this is the annual, and I appreciate this is a very important part of the ongoing story for Nightwing.
There are big pieces here that kind of tip what's going on with Zani and Olivia. Which I really liked in the meta sense of what Waters is doing here. With where the story goes and how it uses the concept of the carnival and superheroes and what that means in a world and even for us. It was really kind of heady in a really good way.
Yeah, I mean the story starts with a flashback just as long ago, so it's vague on the time period, but you've got what turns out to be Olivia's father is arguing in court or a hearing of some kind for basically comic books, or at least the type of comic books that are existing, to be banned. He holds up a Grey Ghost and Wonder Boy and argues that they're too violent. They always seem to end being trapped. Like the cover of this comic's got a shark and they're dangling from a rope, kind of very pulpy old school stuff. But he's arguing that it's too violent and whatnot, and it's a bad influence on the children. I really appreciate that the coloring for the comic book cover is very different to the regular Francavilla coloring for the rest of the panels here for the flashbacks, which are all basically very muted.
Muted, it's not quite black and white because it's more bluish than black and white, but everything's muted. And just the fact that this is Waters taking on that whole seduction of the innocent. I forget who that doctor was, right? That came up in the 50s talking about that comics are hurting the youth because of these, over undertones that are popping up. And here taking it as more of it's a threat because of the ideas they represent and the concept of the death traps. I was like, oh man, we're really going into this spot. This is cool.
Yeah. It's actually kind of happening again just now. There's been a whole thing with video games right now. Where a couple of the PC game stores have pulled any games that are remotely erotic because some group in Australia basically convinced MasterCard to threaten to stop doing payment processing if these things weren't pulled. So it's a whole thing going on right now. But the knock-on effect is that even stuff that isn't smutty, for lack of a better term, even though I think that should be available for adults if they want it, is that a lot of things that are just LGBT are being pulled. And that's kind of what the real target kind of is. So it's very...
it's a smokescreen.
Yeah, there's a whole thing that's going on. Very relevant is the point, though, this kind of thing, even today. So
and it's always then, too, it's do a better job parenting. If you don't want your kids reading it, check in on one of your kids, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you don't want your kids playing those games, check in on your kids. It's not difficult,
So one of the things on the art here as well is that as much as we said it's mostly practically black and white aside from the comic, the exception to that is Olivia, child Olivia herself is in the background of one panel and she's in color, and it's kind of tying her to the book, and it's so even before you know that she cares about the book and that she does read these, which admittedly I think he does mention that he caught his daughter reading them, but
Yeah.
you get there's a connection between her and the book and the coloring, which is really cool. And then you get to see like some panels from the comic, which is the Wonder Boy dangling above the sharks and all the rest of it. So then we go to like present day Bloodhaven now, and we follow Maggie Sawyer, and this is where the real Francavilla coloring comes in, which is the blues, the yellows, the oranges, and the purples. Exactly what you expect. It is absolutely gorgeous. There's a little bit talking about what's going on with the tower, and it kind of prompts Sawyer to go and like investigate this Olivia character, especially since Mayor Grayson told her, I think I saw her real face, but I can't really remember. It's almost like she's in a bit of a trance where like I vaguely remember seeing something horrific and scary, but like I can't really say what it was. So that gets Maggie Sawyer on the case, and she looks into her history.
Who is Olivia Pierce?
And there's no record of her, like before a year ago. So it's like, okay, this is not a real name. Who is this person? And this is where all, and so we kind of cut between her investigation and the other stuff. So there's a present day scene with Olivia and the Zanny showing up and talking to her. And so we've already like put a connection between them already in the story. But this is a bit more overt, where she's like, I after all I've done, like I hope I'd know more about your plans. And he's like, oh, like you serve the Cirque du Sin, not the other way around, remember that. And it leads into more of the flashbacks, and we see young Olivia breaking into a comic book shop to steal the next issue of this Grey Ghost and Wonder Boy. And again, art's gorgeous. There's a phenomenal 2-page spread where the Zanny kind of came out of the comic when they first like came to like kind of recruit Olivia. And it's just gorgeous, all these orange and black backgrounds. He's like, he's almost like a genie coming out of a lamp, but it's super freaky.
That's exactly what it felt like, right? It's almost like she's made this wish, and he's here to grant her darkest desires, right?
Yeah.
And just the whole thing of her thumbing through the issue, and then using the same font that was in the book, right? Like the irony, the horror, can the Grey Ghost and the Wonder Boy escape? And just the way that it interplays with the real world, with her reading it, and then the Zanny showing up like an evil genie. It's some super cool stuff.
Yeah, I really like it. I think this. This is an excellent annual, to be honest. Like, I think the way it progresses the story, especially since the main book, having read the regular issue, part 2 of the current arc, just before I read this, I read that today as well. Is that's doing such a specific thing that's kind of separate from the Zanny stuff. It's it's doing this whole Nightmite like weird dimension with the Nightwing Prime and all that, and that stuff's interesting and it's good what it's kind of like going for. But it's so like this was nice because it's like, hey, we get to keep this Zanny stuff going like as well while that's going on,
and it makes the Zanny seem more scary once we start to get into this. Right, like where the Zanny was packing a lot of power when he was able to mess with Nightmite, right? Is a 5th dimensional imp and whatever. And here, when you find out, we get into Olivia's backstory with the Zanny and what it represents. It's just like, oh, okay, this goes even deeper than I thought.
Yeah. So we go back to Maggie Sawyer. She like goes to like investigate Arkham Tower to like see if there's anyone left of this Cirque du Sin. And there's one guy left, and he's kind of like non-responsive until she brings up the name, like not just like the Olivia name, but he's like, hey, like Nightwing suggested her real name, or she may have gone by Columbina at one point. And this is when he like sort of like, wait, remember? And he gets really angry. And we kind of like go into his backstory and how that fits into Olivia. So he was the writer of the comics.
Yeah.
And he was kidnapped by Olivia and the Zanny and the Cirque du Sin, recruited to be a part of their circus. And the reason why is because he was so good at like coming up with traps, like death traps that he'd put in these comics. And Olivia gets super creepy as well, because he, like there's a separate flashback that comes like just a little bit, a few pages later, where it's like before, when he was still a writer, she went to get his like autograph at a signing. And she's like, oh, you do all these great traps and all these like death things and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, but the heroes always win in the end. They always get out, don't they? That's part of the fun. And she's like, only because you write it that way. Like, they're so close to death, you could let them die. You could, like, you know, and it gets kind of creepy. So we get all this stuff where, like, the Zanny, like, is crawling on the ceiling and he looks up and sees it, and basically it's like, yeah, you're being recruited to, like, be part of this and to come up with death traps. And this is where it starts to talk about the Zanny's current motivation and the Zanny's backstory. She basically says that, you know, there's this, like, entity, maybe it's a god, maybe it's a, you know, something else.
Spirit.
Yeah, something elemental. But something that's... It almost started making me think of... Not the parliaments and, like, Swamp Thing, not those, but, like...
It's more of the Ram V idea things.
Yeah.
Like Trinity, which is the idea of creation and destruction.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's this idea that the Zanny basically became into being in caveman times as soon as they started doing drawings to entertain each other on the cave. That was like the first form of storytelling, the first form of a circus, effectively. And
right? He's the spirit of entertainment, but now it seems like the entertainment has gotten darker, right?
Well, very specifically, though, he basically says that the need for what he offered and the need for the thing that he feeds off of went away because all these superheroes started, because, you know, the circus expanded into the entire world, and Superman, and, you know, they actually point out the very real thing that a lot of superhero outfits are kind of loosely based on, like, you know, circus acts, right? You know, the strongman and stuff like that.
Yes, absolutely. Which is funny because there's been discourse about the trunks again with Superman, and I just thought it was funny that it's come out with this here that we're comparing and why it works, you know. And it's what Cornsweat said was it makes kids trust Superman more, and then when hear the whole thing about how these comic books are corrupting the youth or whatever, it's Dan Waters doing that thing where it's just playing all together with real world type things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, so we get this idea that, like, I mean, I don't know if revenge, but this idea that these superheroes, like, the circus was this place for people to escape the rest of the world, but superheroes are like, you know, like, the circus would be a place to inspire for things to change, but superheroes, as far as the Zanny's concerned, are enforcing the status quo. That's how she puts it when she's describing this. You know, these superheroes are anti-change, which I don't think in the strictest term of that definition I would agree with that, but like, from their perspective, I get what they're saying. And this idea that they want to, like, go after the heroes, and they think their chosen one is Robin, because Robin is, you know, basically the real life version of this Wonder Boy, and has ties to the circus, and it is something that's connected to what the Zanny's connected to. So there's obviously a reminder here of, like, yeah, like, this Cirque du Sin attacked Gotham when Robin was young, when Dick was active as Robin, and Batman and Robin defeated them, and we got obviously some glimpses of that in that flashback, you know, several issues ago now. But it's all tying all that together, and that's, like, sort of like what kind of set the Zanny and, like, Olivia / Columbina down this path of, like, this is all about getting to Robin eventually and getting to Dick Grayson as, like, their new act, if you will.
Yeah, and again, to get back into that kind of Ram V, like, the idea of things is that there's no use for the carnival anymore, right? And then when you look at what Robin has become, and that they want to use that whole, his tie to the carnival, almost to bring that back through him, right? It's really weird because he's not that circus boy anymore. You know, he is, you know, a superhero. He's one of them. So the idea of twisting him, you know, is very, very curious.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because when she's talking about Robin, she's like, oh, it's exciting, isn't it? Robin, the real life Wonder Boy. I feel like I know him already. I've read so many stories. And, you know, the writer's like, it's a fantasy. And the other thing they do here as well is this idea that if you don't do what the Zanny wants, like, it's very vague, but she just says he'll take something from you. And at the end of this scene, this flashback, the Zanny's just reaching out to his head and he's screaming, and there's, like, blood dripping out of his head. And the implication to me is that it's taking either a part of his personality or maybe some of his memories, but the idea that you're losing something very vital to you that you can't get back.
because they have the strongman set that up when he wakes up, right? When he tells him, to shut up or whatever. And he says, I'm the strongman. That's what she tells me. That's what I am. I used to be someone else. I had a name. I had a life. And it's just like, oh, and he's the strongman? What the hell did they do to him? So, and it seems to be that up pretty well.
Yeah, and it seems to be true of this writer in Arkham Tower that he doesn't know, they have no idea who he is, like who he used to be. And does he know? I don't know if he does. He might just not know anymore based on what's happened to these other characters. So, yeah, it's that's good stuff. So Maggie Sawyer's investigating. She's got like a bunch of things written down: the Zanny, comic books, death traps,
everybody.
Try to put it together.
I forgot that. Yeah, I forgot everybody was the name of the comic book shop, right? So I was like, she's just including all of Bloodhaven now, huh? And then we get to when she goes to the comic book shop. I was like, oh yeah, that was the name of the shop.
Yeah. And then that scene I was talking about earlier where she goes to the signing, this I presume is just before they're going to kidnap him. And this is where she's like, hey, you could kill the heroes if you wanted to. So that's that. So Maggie Sawyer goes to the Everybody Comics shop and talks to the kid that works there. And she's like, hey, do you have anything by this writer? And he's like, oh, that's an old writer. Yeah, maybe there's something in the old bins, and starts looking through the discount pile. So yeah, there's more Zanny over Olivia's shoulder, more creepy stuff.
Soy's art's been really good, but no one has drawn the Zanny as ominous and creepy as Francavilla.
Yeah.
Right? It's hitting like the shadows, the white face, the little beady red eyes. Right? It's unnerving.
Yeah, and it's a nice through line as well, where it's the Maggie Sawyer issues that are getting the Francavilla art. So it feels like there's a nice through line between the ones that so they're just random which ones are getting Francavilla art versus the Sawyer art. So yeah, because that's the other thing here. Zanny chastises Olivia, like, you weren't supposed to show anyone your true face. And she says, I just wanted to scare her. I need to know that I could still scare someone, which is creepy in and of itself, honestly. But they start dancing like up in the tower here on Bloodhaven, because she's like, let me know there's no escape, none at all. Like they're almost getting romantic about the idea of death traps that no one can get out of.
Yeah, he says the whole city's beginning to feel like a death trap, inescapable, endlessly shifting, violent, and cruel. And I was just like, oh, man.
Yeah. Yeah, there's another flashback to that night, because the flashbacks haven't been in order. They've been kind of jumping around. This next one's after she stole that comic book and she went home, her dad catches her and is like grabbing her arm and saying, you're reading this filth behind my back, why do you defy me? And the scene ends with her pushing him and he goes down the stairs and dies. So it's like, okay, so this is her origin, and maybe this is also part of why the Zanny was able to latch onto her, and maybe the Zanny could even talk to Dick is because there's a tragedy. Him witnessing his parents' death might be a part of why he's susceptible to the Zanny reaching out to him in this way.
Right. And then it's almost like she's running off to join the circus, right? So, there's that level at play here. And just that page of the dad on the stairs with the wide open eyes and all, twisted up from falling down, and with the oranges and the yellows and her running across. It's very, very, very shocking.
Yeah. So it just ends in kind of like, yep, Nightwing's still trapped in that tower. Maggie Sawyer's put some two and two together and is determined to stop it. It's a really good kind of like, hey, like, get excited for all this stuff to pay off, and it's fun because this tower stuff will probably finish, and some of it may be tied to the Zanny stuff, but it feels like the big Zanny story is going to come after that. But it's been really well seeded and sort of like playing throughout this run so far. It's as far as Nightwing specific villains, this could end up being a favorite. Yeah.
Well, and what happens with Olivia too is I feel like she has more staying power than the Zanny, because now I'm starting to feel like they are feeding off one another, right? Like if she's holding the idea of what he is That's what's giving him form, right? So if, and he doesn't necessarily need to be dark, right? The Zani could just be this spirit of entertainment in a way, right? And it's all of who's using that power. He kind of takes on their thing. So if she really has that darkness in her and it's starting to affect him, I would think that would make her a long-staying villain, I feel, for Nightwing.
Well, that's assuming it works that way. I don't think we know that. Like, we don't know that Zani's not inherently evil to begin with.
No, but I'm just, the vibe that I was getting with the whole, the idea, it's not necessarily the idea, it's who's using the idea, right? As like, she wanted this thing to come out from that book. I don't think she was necessarily targeted herself, I mean, so I feel like she's...
I can see the idea of her wanting something and the darkness in her attracting. That's what I was getting at with the whole, the
Gotcha.
killing the dad being like maybe a big part of like why the Zani came to her. But I don't think we can say right now if like she's influencing the Zani or if the Zani's already kind of the spirit of, darkness kind of thing.
Thinking like, not a twist or whatever, but just the whole concept of the way that they set up the idea of the Zani. And we know that Dan Waters comes from that Ram V. He came up with Ram V, right? He was writing backups and stuff. That again, it's not the idea that's necessarily wrong or bad, it's how it's being used. So, and I just got that, again, that undertone here throughout, because it's just like the concept of the death traps, right, is that they are meant in the comic books as entertainment, right? We're writing our heroes into the corner and they're not inherently bad. So when her dad's trying to push them in court, like, this is what's perverting our children, it's all about just not the intent, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's not the idea itself, it's how they're using the idea that's necessarily bad. So, and I feel like here unleashing this thing on the tower is just a piece of that.
Yeah, I just like, I get why you're comparing this, because I even did it myself to like the idea of Ram V, the idea forming, but I don't think that the Zani has been specifically treated that way throughout the writing. Even in this issue, it feels like more of a character, there's more of a something like, I think that even the fact that the Zani was able to talk to Dick when he was a boy on his own suggests something different. Now,
that's true.
Maybe the Zani is tied to Olivia in some way, like especially when we get more of this whole real face thing. Like maybe there's something supernatural going on there, but I think it's. I just wouldn't shoehorn it into what you're saying right now. I don't think we have enough information to shoehorn it in.
And I did space on that where he appeared to Dick as a boy. I thought you were talking about when he came to him on the bike, right? When we got that in a couple issues back.
No. I'm talking about the flashback issue where he, because that was the first time we ever saw the Zani, and we were like, what the hell is this idea?
Right. I kind of spaced on that one, and that makes a lot more sense now. Yeah. So, but no, this is the Francavilla art here, just with that pulpiness and the way that it plays with the colors and the expressions.
If the Zani sticks around, like, and so you could maybe the Zani could come back because maybe it's unkillable. Like you can maybe take Olivia off the board, but can you take the Zani off the board forever? Probably not. It could be it could almost become like Dick's like Pinhead, like like a Cenobite style villain who's always kind of like there in some form that could come in and influence things and tied to the circus and that stuff. Like I think it's interesting that Taylor gave us Heartless, who was a pretty good villain, and I think that this is a pretty great new villain as well. And I'm saying that for both the Zani and Olivia / Columbina, whatever you want to call her. But no, I think Waters is having a great run here. I'm super into this. Like I think it's very different from Taylor's run, but I think they're both great, and I think we've been kind of spoiled with two good Nightwing runs back to back here. So
yeah,
happy days. And the art's gorgeous. I mean, we talked about it a good bit at the start of this. So, what are you rating the Nightwing annual, Matt?
9.5.
I mean, I at least want to give it a 9. Like, I'm not like thinking you're being absurd. It's just
no. This was a real good
Yeah, no, it was excellent. Obviously, the art's gorgeous. I love the backstory stuff. It made the Zanny feel more mysterious. It made Olivia feel more creepy as well. It really fleshed her out. So it really accomplished a lot. Um, yeah, I'll agree. 9.5. I just it's excellent stuff. I feel like there's a certain type of person who'll complain that there's like no Nightwing in it, but that's not really the point. It doesn't matter.
Because it's driving that you feel his presence though, because the whole reason she's doing this is because of Wonder Boy and Robin.
Oh yeah,
right?
I mean, regardless of any of that though, like it's okay for an issue of a series to like go away from the main character and focus on the villain or whoever. And I think the fact that this is an annual doesn't change that. Like, it's okay for this to focus on like another prominent part of the story. So I just know that there's someone out there who'll whine and say, but like Nightwing was in like one panel at the end, meh. Like, so I'm just shutting that down immediately. All right, Batman: The Long Halloween, the last Halloween, issue 8. So yeah, this is still trucking along, and it's not a bad issue, I don't think, by any means.
No.
Much better than Hattush, I'll say that much.
I mean, that's not saying a lot, but it is,
Yeah. No, I mean, it's a focus. It feels like they're being a bit more proactive now. We're getting towards the end of the book. Batman and Gordon are going to Arkham to question various people. They split up. Batman's questioning the doctor that did surgery on Catwoman and Ivy and demanding to know certain things. We find out that because this doctor's the one that worked on Harvey after his burns and Harvey got away, he was kind of punished, and this is like the only gig that he could get. That's why he's stuck in Arkham doing this surgery. So he's in a pretty grumpy mood and not wanting to deal with Batman's bullshit. Whereas
he gets punched in the face, and then we get a nice little panel after. There's blood where his mouth was, right? And I was just like, oh my god. So that was fun. Yeah,
from under his mask. So he's wearing like a surgical mask at the time. And then Gordon goes to question Penguin about who hired him to help kidnap his son. So he ends up like grabbing Penguin as well. So everyone's angry here. And meanwhile, Calendar Man, the cliffhanger from last issue, I believe, was someone showing up to potentially shoot Two-Face. Turns out it's Calendar Man. Calendar Man is pissed that the Holiday Killer and the killer from Dark Victory took his shtick. So he's trying to reclaim the whole like doing crimes on certain dates nonsense.
Yeah. He's mad with the gimmick infringement.
Yeah. Trademarked. I don't know if you could TM criminal activity, but he wants to.
No, but that's his thing. It's like you don't see Calendar Man around and putting on, mind control hats on people. The holidays are his. So
got to show up in Gotham and start doing little riddles everywhere just to piss off Edward Nygma.
Yep.
So Gilda shows up, and Penguin said, "Oh, Gilda's the one who hired me," and we kind of knew Gilda was like deep in all this. But she goes to Harvey and says that she's pregnant, and says that, hey, remember we had some of my eggs frozen, some of your semen was frozen, or whatever. I don't know if that's what they do, but yeah, whatever. But she says she's pregnant.
I wanted to be sure what I told you on this day, on Daddy's Day. And it's just like, what? I didn't agree to this.
Yeah, don't call Father's Day Daddy's Day, okay? Just don't. All right.
Gilda said it first.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm saying it to Gilda. Yes.
Gotcha.
Daddy is like. I'm just saying, daddy is more of a kinky word now than a word that children should say to their fathers. That's all I'm saying.
It definitely gives a new vibe to the Eddie Murphy movie Daddy Daycare.
Like, there's a reason why Arnold saying, "Who is your daddy and what does he do?" is funny, okay?
Yes.
Right?
Oh, man. Anyways, these two freaks.
Yeah. Do you think the baby will come out half and half?
I don't know, man. I don't know whether to believe her. I don't. Gilda's nuts. If anything, reading through these books has taught me is that Gilda broke a little while ago.
Yeah.
And she might be worse than Harvey, right? Because Harvey has the whole split personality thing. She is just gone completely wacko with the whole concept of family. And too much more that she used science to create a dent baby. Ugh.
Yeah, maybe she's lying. Maybe she's saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, I used your seed, if you will." But maybe it's Grundy's kid. Maybe she asked Grundy for a for a quickie.
Gives a whole new meaning to Born on a Monday.
Ejaculates on a Saturday.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, Batman and Gordon go to the Falcone residence, which I couldn't help but notice looks very much based on the Bates house from Psycho,
yes.
with the stairs going up to the house. It looks very much like that.
The stairs, and then the Victorian style columns in the front gives it that creepy haunted mansion look. So.
Yep.
But yeah.
So they go snooping around, looking for whatever. Grundy jumps out at them and attacks them, and there's a whole set piece here where they end up in the water. I mean, Batman tries to talk Grundy down, says, "Hey, Grundy, friend," and so on. But Two-Face does show up. Some shots are fired. Gordon's kind of because they end up in the water underneath the house, and like Batman has to save Gordon, even though Gordon's yelling at him to no, forget about me, get Two-Face. And Two-Face has got the two guns and whatnot. So we get this big sort of confrontation where and it does feel kind of big that finally, like, Batman and Gordon are in a scene with Two-Face, and they're kind of like, at this like turning point. Two-Face though gets distracted because Gilda's getting washed away in the sewer water, and he goes after her. And that kind of is how this thing wraps up. And Batman saves Gordon, and they end up on the outside. So yeah, it feels like things are progressing here towards the end of the book. Mario Falcone's in a prison cell in a hospital bed, and Catwoman snuck in to see him and threaten him. But before or after she goes, I should say, Mummy Falcone shows up and says that she's here to get him out and that Falcone shouldn't be behind bars. But she says, "Hey, on Halloween night, which presumably is going to be issue 10, you're going to take back your father's city." So it sets up that the Falcones are going to be like making a big move towards the end of the story as well. So, I mean, I'm enjoying reading this. It feels, I mean, this is mostly kind of like a nostalgic throwback to like some more important stories. It's not as good as Long Halloween or Dark Victory, but it's pleasant enough. Like, and I think, they've done a good job picking the artists to be enjoyable. I think Cloonan's art here, they've definitely put in an effort to color it like those old books, and I think the art is expressive. I think it works where it needs to. I think the coloring is quite nice. When in the dark and Gordon fires his gun and then his one panel lights up orange, I think that's a good bit of coloring.
I feel like Cloonan's doing a version of Sale, but it's almost like an homage.
Yeah.
Here, like with the breakdowns and the way that the character designs are. Like, the Two-Face feels very much like Sale's Two-Face.
Yeah. And
then the fact that Penguin looks like a sick little freak with the little tiny razor teeth, and he's eating the fish whole or whatever. There's just, again, more that monstrous quality where it's almost like you're seeing the inner version of the character more than what's on the outside. And that's how I always felt with Joker when Sale would draw him with the big teeth and the jaw and all that type of stuff. It's like, oh, it's this is how we see the inside representation. So yeah, I'm always a fan of sick little freak Penguin. So
yeah, it's just it's kind of in that weird middle ground where I'm enjoying reading it enough. It's pleasant to get through, but I don't have a ton to say about it. The story is perfectly fine, but at this point I'm just sort of like letting it play out, and I'm not like necessarily thinking about it too hard as I'm reading it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, there's some stuff with the Catwoman plot about when Bruce is talking to the Arkham doctor, and he's like, "Well, I'm the one that operated on her, and it was a real up close shot." And Bruce is like, "So you're saying she shot herself?" And he's like, "I don't know. You're the detective. You figure it out." And so little seeding going through there to push that story along, because I think the doctor even tells him you should have listened to your yellow-caped friend talking about Robin. So yeah, and I'm just wondering with with Selena, who is the, you know, for lack of a better term, bastard offspring of Carmine, right? That's why she went and got the mom. Like, what is her role in all of this? You know, her reestablishing the Falcones in Gotham after they've been on the down low. So two issues to kind of get through that.
Yeah, I'm curious where that's going. But yeah, it's good. Like, you know, it's like, I mean, we're getting to the ratings here, right? Like, you know, I'm giving it like a 7. I'm enjoying it. It's not like amazing, but it's good.
I'll give it a 7.5, mainly for the art. I thought Cloonan did a good job.
That's fair. All right. So digging into some books from 2 weeks ago then, that were not covered then. Detective Comics 1099, Tom Taylor writing with Lee Garbett on the art. So, yeah, I actually, this kind of felt like it wrapped up the arc, funnily enough. I mean, obviously there's still stuff to do, but it felt like this was a little 3-issue arc as opposed to your typical, you know, 6 or so issues. So that is fair enough. Some more Bullock zingers, which is nice, and you know, so yeah, this definitely went to an interesting and unexpected place by the end. But you know, obviously we had Bullock being a little bit hurt from the past issue. Elixir's men all on the outside with Ambrose kind of calling the shots, and Batman trying to protect them. The big thing that he does, though, which is quite interesting, is that because Elixir's whole thing is that they want to like live longer and live forever, and that's what all their mantra is what their goals are, and what they've been doing with the, you know, the science companies and all the rest of it. It means that they're especially scared for their own lives because their whole thing is they don't want to die. So Batman uses that to scare the shit out of them, and that, you know, if he makes something look like he's trying to kill them, he's not. He's actually been very careful with where he's firing missiles from the Batplane. But the idea is that they will just scatter because they're terrified. And Ambrose actually like shits himself and like yells like, you know, get out of the way, I'm getting out of here, which is actually quite satisfying because he's been like, you know, projecting like, I'm very cool, I'm badass, I'm in charge, I make decisions. And it's the second his life's in danger, or at least he thinks it is, he's like crying like a baby. So yeah, he gets pulled back by Penguin and they're going to interrogate him, and he's like, oh, I know you want to hurt me, Batman, you've got lines, you know, I know my life is safe with you around. And Bullock says, hey Batman, Penguin, let's come and have a private chat. And we don't hear what they say at first, and then Batman just says, no, I won't allow it, and leaves. And clearly this is all an act. This is just this. Bullock's clearly had the idea that if Batman leaves, this guy will think he's in danger because Batman's the one that wouldn't, you know, will stop them from crossing a line.
Yeah, he goes, you know, good cop, bad cop. Good cop just left. So I love Taylor's voice for Bullock here. Just the, you know, it's very much, you know, the, like I just said, the good cop, bad cop, you know, good cop left. Now it's just 2 bad cops here. And then when he tells them that your friend was an expert torturer, you know, I may not have his artistry, but I'll make up for it with enthusiasm. Yeah, when Batman, just that threat, you know.
Yeah, when Batman comes back, Penguin's like, yeah, Harvey was right. He immediately started talking. You didn't even touch him after you left the room. So yeah, we find out about the leader, and basically we find out this whole thing's a pyramid scheme where there is like some real life prolonging stuff, but it's really only getting used for Ambrose, the guy in charge who we get to in a minute, and the doctor who died last issue. They were the only ones actually prolonging their life, and it was because of they've got Lazarus juice that they're using from the Lazarus pits, which is cool because it means that, oh, there's not another life prolonging thing. And they were getting somewhere, obviously, with this whole stealing teenagers like DNA and like robbing them of life to like give to people. But for the most part, they're using Lazarus just on the 3 people who are in charge to convince others to buy in, and then those others aren't really getting any real effects. They're just getting like placebos and whatnot.
Yeah. This was my big issue with this, was the reveal of Elixir not being this big bad type thing. You know, and like going through the arc with what we did with the teenagers and all of this, it being like, oh, they're this super shadowy organization and whatever. And then just it being summed up as a pyramid scheme with this one guy who we'll get to. I was kind of like, I guess that's okay. You know, and it also felt a bit abrupt that we were already getting to the leader of this thing at this point. So
I feel like the leader's been set up now for some. I feel we're going to come back to him for some reason later. You know.
I hope so, because with how this ends, the way that it ends, I hope that there's some payoff with it. That said, I did get a chuckle with the way this ends. It was Taylor's sense of humor comes through. Yeah,
so it's this guy named Perpetuum Vita. Vita means life for anyone who didn't know that.
And Perpetua means always. So
always
Perpetuum
life.
Vita is always life. Yes.
Yeah. So it's just a place underground, underneath the building they're in. They go to. Ambrose is leading them in, and he's like, "Okay, I'll take you in. You know, don't say anything." But then it's revealed immediately that there's a camera, and the guy knows that he's betraying him, so he sets him on fire, and Ambrose is completely incinerated and dies. Yep. So Batman whips out an explosive to open through the door. I will say that like Batman didn't notice a security camera in the car. That feels a little bit un-Batman-like, so I'll maybe give it a slight critique for that.
Especially in this big, huge vault with all this huge doors. Like, they're definitely trying to keep people out, which would mean the security system was number one before the big, thick door. So, but yeah, it is a great page though of the dude burning up. Like, it is ghastly.
Yeah. It's so, maybe the panel of the issue is this guy burning alive. So they get inside, and this like recurring idea of these guys actually being wimps is just sort of like, you know, Bullock and Penguin start laughing when they see him, because he's in kind of this like skin tight suit with like slippers and like a shower cap on, and he's living in a bubble basically. Like he's so scared of death. As they point out, he's so obsessed with living forever or not dying that he's forgotten to actually live, because he basically says, "Oh, once you breach that door, this like fancy like diamond lace like bubble came up around me, and I can't even open it from the inside. It's on a timer for 5 years. Like I'm stuck in here for 5 years, so you can't get to me, and I can't get out." And Batman's like, "Okay, fine. I'll be back in 5 years then." And you're going to have to fear. He even like drops the number of days. He's like, for the next 1800 days or whatever it is, you're going to have to fear the Batman coming for you, because I'm going to be here when those 5 years are up. Because he's like, "I've got nutrients, I've got everything I need in here to survive." And it's like, this is pathetic. You like, you're not living in here. You're just on your own in a bubble. It's just terrible.
Yeah, the guy goes even like, "I'm not stuck. I'm sustained." It is like, oh, you're one of these tech bro dorks, you know, swapping out your blood, you know, with a blood boy and stuff. And it's just like, it's pathetic, right? Because like they said, they're not living. They're like, they're gonna be an old age, but they're not living. They're not experiencing things. He is literally stuck in this bubble for 5 years, knowing that Batman will be there for him.
I think it's an interesting counterpoint to that, the first arc, where, you know, Batman was like questioning his own morality and should I extend it so I can be a better Batman, and like, and then having this where like someone who is so obsessed with just extending their life, they're not doing anything with it. Like, you know, that's like their only goal. It's an interesting counterpoint to that, I think.
It is for sure, because it's like, well, Batman, no matter what, this dude won't have a legacy. Batman will, regardless if his body holds up, right? Like, just the idea of Batman will always persevere, and that's what the whole Nolan movies were about.
Yeah, legacy.
You know, so even if even if his body falls apart, he's still done his job, and he has existed, you know, and he has lived that life that by his own decisions. Because I like that Bullock tells this guy, you know, it's like he's living in a zoo exhibit for poor choices. So, yeah, again, a lot of that humor coming through.
Yeah. So, yeah, that seems to wrap up this little arc here. And I do think that, like, I'm not sure what this guy will know necessarily, but I feel like we might come back to him in a sort of Hannibal Lecter-esque way, where it's like, hey, this guy might know something about something else that, you know, we need down the line. So, curious to see. Also, there was a bit in the middle somewhere where Penguin's like, "Hey, Bullock, you're good at this. Do you want a job when we get back to Gotham?" And he's basically just like, "F off." And he's like, "Well, that wasn't a no." So, interesting. So there's a little epilogue where Bullock goes to that cop that was kind of corrupt but gave him intel on how to find these guys, and gives him a bottle of the elixir pills, and he's like, "What the hell is this?" And because this guy said he was dying before, so this is like Bullock giving him a little bit extra time. So, yeah, that's not bad. So issue 1100 next time, get a little milestone, which actually feels really weird, because I remember us doing issue 1000 on the show, And I'm like, obviously it was double shipping for a while, and then it was doing weekly for a few months for the tower. So like they have had little speed up, periods where they have been getting to them a bit quicker. But it still feels really weird that we've had 100 issues since issue 1000 already. That's very strange to me. Yeah, buy me the coffin now. My own mortality's like coming up.
Oh man.
But yeah, no, art's really good. Garbett, I think the art is very, very solid throughout. Very nice and clean and expressive, moody where it needs to be. And like we said, that the guy on fire for that page is absolutely gorgeous, as much as you can get for such a horrific scene. So very nice. Compliments some of the others that have been on the book really well.
Oh, for sure, like Janin, right?
Yeah.
Kind of similar. Also, the last page with Batman on it, where they're leaving the dude in his bubble, and their shadows, Penguin and Bullock, it makes the bat signal with Bruce. Thought that was a fun little art point.
Oh yeah, because it's just like they're like making the sides, the wings with the shadows, and he's making the head. Yeah, no, that's a nice touch.
I like that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so cool. All right, what are you giving Detective Comics?
I'm gonna 7.5.
Yeah. I think I'll still go with the 8. I don't think I was quite as bothered by Elixir not being as big as we thought. For whatever reason, that didn't bother me too much. I guess maybe just because it felt like it was like, oh, we're going to make fun of who these guys are, and we're going to belittle their choices. Kind of worked for me, but I kind of get though the disappointment maybe of thinking they're going to be this big like villain threat for like the whole art or the whole run, and they're actually kind of easier to deal with. But it does mean that where are we going next with this run from Taylor? We actually it's kind of open now, so curious to see what he's got cooking for next issue. And I assume next issue has backups because it's a milestone, so we'll see how that goes as well. But there you go, that's Detective Comics. Superman Unlimited issue 3, Dan Slott writing with Rafael Albuquerque on the art. So this is a more crypto-focused issue, interesting enough, so we don't really continue. I mean, there's references to what's going on, the whole kryptonite being everywhere. That does come up. But it's a bit more self-contained, this issue, which is interesting. It's also funny how all of a sudden when the Superman movie was coming out and crypto's a part of that all of a sudden there's not only a crypto miniseries, but we're getting a crypto issue of one of the Superman books.
Reading this right after seeing the movie was a real big 1-2 punch of crypto. Yeah,
for sure. So this is a story called Good Boy, and there's a little bit of a flashback early on where it's like basically showing how like Clark had some trouble like realizing his own strength. He ripped off the door of the truck by accident, and he's having to like learn how to control his powers. And the point of him bringing that up is that, well, if it's hard for me, how hard could it be for a dog? And sure enough, we see Crypto like heat vision firing off and almost hitting the squirrel. We see Crypto like, wrecking the fridge because he's like getting in there for the food. So he's got so much strength, but he's a dog. So it's like, how do we deal with that? So we see a little bit of that, but then we also see in present day that he like Crypto by himself takes care of some bank robbers, and the bank robbers are very embarrassed and like, oh, let's tell people it was Superman who stopped us, saved the embarrassment. And there's also a little bit with John where basically Clark and Lois are like, hey, so you do need to get a job at some point, John. You are technically an adult now. Like you can't just be a superhero 24/7. So maybe that's something that he's going to get to in the run. But they do some fun stuff here where Crypto's like going for a walk around the planet and like he's speeding around the entire world, and John's like holding on to the leash. They go past Gorilla City, which I assume setting up a new recurring character for the Daily Planet, because we get a gorilla, like a teenage girl gorilla.
Tina.
Yeah, she's called Tina, but I think she's a teenager or maybe college-age girl who is going to be an intern at the Daily Planet. So I suspect we're going to see more of that character, and that's why we had that page setting her up. But John stays with the Kents because he ends up on the farm, and they want to talk to him about something. Maybe they're going to give him a job on the farm or something. Maybe that's what we're setting up here.
Yeah.
Who knows? But Crypto is left to go back to Metropolis on his own, and basically sniffs out that there's some Toyman shenanigans going on because something like gets his scent going. And ends up at this like science exhibit where there's like there's LexCorp, there's Cord Industries, all the rest of it, and basically Clark's interviewing someone from one of these companies, and basically saying, hey, don't you work for Winslow Schott, the Toyman, and like is your stuff going to be using kryptonite, all the rest of it. And sure enough, this robot built by Toyman that's powered by kryptonite like rises up, and Krypto shows up to help fight it, and Superman's fighting it as well. The big thing here though is that when Krypto, like they sort of like make a hole in its chest and they see the kryptonite, like I'm sure it's happened before, but like I don't know if I remember a scene where Krypto gets near kryptonite and gets hurt and is like like dying in Superman's arms, and it looks really sad.
Have you never read Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow?
Oh, I think I have. Story? It's been like 20 years.
Because that's how Krypto in that story dies, is that the Kryptonite Man comes to attack Clark, and he bites, and essentially Krypto kills the Kryptonite Man trying to save Superman, and he ends up dying by himself because he's so irradiated with the kryptonite Superman can't get close. And it's super sad, and I did not cry for 10 minutes reading it.
I mean, that's quite an old story at this point, so it's been a while. Yeah.
So, but yeah, they tend to not have Krypto go near kryptonite because they know the audience loves the pet, So yeah, here I was like, oh no, they just didn't bring Krypto to the big screen to take him out here, did they?
Yeah.
Hoo-wee.
Yeah, the big reveal here is that after Superman like goes into gold form to try and protect Krypto, so it's not actually like any of the human Toymen that are behind this. It's actually like one of the animatronic toys has kind of become sentient and says, yeah, they built this robot, but it's not to hurt anyone. It wasn't actually going to like attack anyone. And he goes up and uses this like ray gun that covers it in inertin, which blocks the kryptonite effect to sort of stop hurting anyone. And it's like, oh, so that's so Krypto's kind of jumped the gun here a little bit because it smelled Toyman stuff and jumped in. So Superman takes Krypto to the fortress, buys him a present. It's got some plushies of Superman villains. They got Brainiac, Bizarro, and is that
that's Mexipitalik?
Mexipitalik, yeah. I was just looking at it funny. So Krypto's playing with these stuffed toys, and that's kind of the end of the issue. Yeah, I mean, this was an okay issue. I mean, it was definitely like a fun standalone story, which, like it references what's going on in the ongoing story of this book with the kryptonite being used, and maybe it's important that we've got like a non-human Toyman character that's kind of like running Toyman technology right now. Maybe that's something that's going to be important later, but it does kind of feel like a sort of like fill in, or we're just going to have fun for an issue with doing Krypto stuff. But having said that, maybe even the John stuff about him getting a job or what he's talking to the Kents about is maybe going to be important as well. So maybe like the main story is just kind of a fun side story, but there's little snippets like kind of sprinkled throughout that are going to be important later, maybe, which is fine. Like I'm not even complaining. It's just kind of weird to do this with issue 3 of a new book. Feels a bit early
because it's been so focused on the whole Superman and that new island that is, has all the kryptonite.
Yeah, the city.
And what's up with them. Yeah, to get away from that so soon. Although that said, I did like here with the Toyman, and it's not what it seems, right? That he's not like Winslow. He's going to try to do good. And there is that mystery, though, of how he came up with the inerton, because it's not... Superman even tells him, that's a metal that's not native to this time period. How? And all Toyman says is that he found bits of green kryptonite the Calderans gave him. It was the key to making my generators work without hurting anybody.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I figured out how to do something like Inerton. So I'm wondering if that's going to be a key going forward, that, Superman has some stuff made from Toyman to shield him and the other Kryptonians.
Yeah. Either him or maybe the woman that Clark was talking to as a reporter before, talked about how these kryptonite generators can like power a city, and like this is like an improvement for the world.
Yep.
And so there's a whole little bit where Clark's kind of like talking to Crypto and saying, well, if it's for the good for the world, maybe we just have to accept that this is something that's going to exist, underground, under like lots of cities going forward or something. So it is interesting. The art, obviously, Albuquerque is very good. I still do think at times I find myself, looking at like Superman's face and going, yeah, maybe he's not the most Superman suited artist. Like, he's a great artist, no question. But when I think of Albuquerque, I'm thinking of like horror books and like, creepy stuff. So it's an interesting pairing for
I will say his Crypto looks weird at times. And, I have a dog that looks kind of like this with the kind of mustachy, whatever. And just sometimes it looks odd and it's just Albuquerque style. That said, on the page where Crypto's attacking the big robot with the robot like tentacle, there's a small panel at the top of Superman opening his shirt and taking his glasses off that I think looks really good. And it might just be because it's smaller, right? And there's not as much detail, so you don't get a lot of that Albuquerque weird face thing going on. But I will say that fits the Albuquerque style for Superman. Yeah, right here.
And for the record, like, I don't think his faces are bad. Like, I just think they're kind of like they're not quite the tone for Superman that I'd expect.
Yeah. The doll man, toy man guy, like whatever he is, looks like a kid. That looks pretty good, right? Like the exaggerated kind of features versus just the regular human type stuff, even though Superman's not human. You know what I mean? But yeah, just it's not bad by any means. It's just it feels off. Yeah.
I like the touch as well that when the toy is saying, hey, like, I'm literally a toy man, I'm just I'm a creation, I'm a Pinocchio. There's the panel there, like you can see that Clark's using his X-ray vision and seeing that there's nothing inside of him. There's no skeleton or anything like that. So that's a nice touch. So so it's just a sort of thing where I don't know if the artist matches the character particularly amazingly, but the art is very good, and Albuquerque is usually very good. So anywho, so pretty kind of mostly standalone, kind of fun side story issue, which does affect, I think, my feeling on it a little bit, even though I think it was pretty decent. So what are you rating this issue, Matt?
It's a straight 7.
Yeah, I think that's about fair. I think it's pleasant enough. I'll agree with a 7. All right. Cool. Next up, we have Wonder Woman issue 23, Legacy number 823. This is Tom King writing with Daniel Sampere on the art. Obviously, we're excited to have Sampere back. We're excited to get into this next story. We had that kind of setup issue with the different artists setting up Mouseman, and here we're getting into kind of what we're up to. So they do kind of a like I Am Groot type thing with Mouseman's like little island, where everyone just keeps saying the same like 2 sentences over again, which is Mouseman knows, Mouseman has ears.
Mice ears, Mouseman knows.
Mice have ears, Mouseman knows, sorry, yeah.
Yes.
So we have that, and then like intercutting with that, we have Wonder Woman on the Watchtower, has a fun little scene with Stephanie Brown at the start, actually, where she's kind of like nerding out and being like, oh, I look up to you, Wonder Woman, I'm a Batgirl, blah, blah, blah. But basically, she's like talking to the Justice League about wanting to like get support for going into this, Mouseman's like sovereign nation that exists, which apparently has existed since the Crisis. Now, I don't know like a story that set that up back in the day, but I believe that it might have done. So,
right.
But yeah, everyone in this city all just keep saying these sentences to each other, but it is in a way like, and this is why I'm comparing it to Groot. It kind of feels like they do know what they're saying to each other, and it does feel like they're saying different things in different scenes because they're reacting in certain ways, There's
intonation to it, right? Like when Groot says "I am Groot" versus "I am Groot," right?
Yeah.
Like they're able to put some stuff on it, and it helps that Sampere's art is so good that you just look at the expressions, and you don't even need the dialogue here. Like literally, it could have just been silent pages, and the story still gets told. You just don't have the little quirk of the mice have ears, Mouseman knows.
And the girl that we're following in the city, like has little buns like mouse ears like on her hair, which I thought was a nice touch. But you get what they're doing. Like, there's a moment where like a kid teases her, and they're still just saying Mouse Man knows, and then she says mice have ears, but they're doing kind of the stick the tongue out kind of like face. And then like there's like a scene where she's in trouble with the principal for it, and her dad's there, and you get that this scene is like and the dad ends up slapping her, which makes her ultimately run away. But the Wonder Woman stuff is that she's trying to convince the others to like go to this island, and because the child is there, the Amazon who gave birth is there, right? This is the little tease we got at the end of the last arc, and she wants to go there, but the Justice League say, hey, look, we agreed legally that we should never go there, that this is a land that we don't cross into, it's completely independent, and we all agreed to that, including you, so we can't go there. But Wonder Woman's like, well, I guess I'm going on my own then. And she walks off. And Batman even says, hey, if you defy this, there'll be consequences. And she's like, oh, Aphrodite was right. You are cute. So it's a very cold little scene as she walks away from them.
She has never hit Bruce with the bless your heart like she did here. With he's like, oh, you're cute. Try and stop me. Go ahead. I dare you. So, yeah, definitely the vibe of Diana that I like.
Yeah, no. So we get this whole like almost like it reminded me a little bit of Home Alone 2 when like Kevin's on the streets and he's scared of everyone that he walks past. Where this girl is going through the city and there's like a crazy homeless man like yells at her, and of course all he yells is "Mice have ears." Mouse Man knows. But then a giant mouse comes out and like bites this guy's head off, which, and also earlier on, there was a school bus that was not actually running on gas. It was being pulled by two giant mice, just for the record.
Yep.
So, yeah, and she walks past a movie theater where the movie marquee just says Mouse Man knows. It's almost like something, like a magic spell or something is just obscuring everything that's said on this island to these sentences.
To me, knowing that Tom King comes, his history, right, working for the State Department and whatever, it definitely feels like this is some kind of authoritarian, vibe, and that basically all that the public says is the same thing, right? They're just talking because they're in such fear of the people in power that they just keep parroting back the same things. Yeah. Right. And what better way to do that in the comics, just to have them use repeated things, sentences to drive that back. Yeah.
Whether it's literally happening and they're just saying this over and over again, or it represents that they're just saying whatever, he wants us to say. It doesn't really matter, but it's working either way. So two guys come up to this girl when she's sleeping at the bus stop, and they're aiming guns at her. They're going to shoot her. This island's pretty rough. And this is where Wonder Woman, makes her big entrance, and she blocks the bullets, and she's got her hair in a braid, and she's like asking if she's okay. Big full page spread, really pretty art, of course, and tries to ask like, hey, do you speak English? I know people here are refugees from America, so I'm hoping that you speak my language. And what's interesting is that when she tries to speak to Wonder Woman, she doesn't say the Mouse Man stuff. We just get effectively like some noise, like she's trying to say stuff, but it's not coming out. And it really does make me question like how like literal the rest of like these people speaking has been. Like, is it that they're saying this, or is it that they physically cannot speak, and that's how it's been represented? Because it feels like she's trying to say something to Wonder Woman and it's not working. So when Wonder Woman says, like, hey, now are you in trouble? Whatever it is, I swear I'll make it okay. The girl just screams, and there's like a baby who reacts, going gee, and that's the end of the issue. So it very much felt like it was like giving us something to chew on here about like what all this like Mouse Man knows speak has been the whole time. And
you remember from the issue with Mouse Man, right? He was almost like one of these men's rights dudes. They're like, oh, the man doesn't have their place. They're being taken out. Yeah. We can't be in charge of women. And you see how they treat this young girl, right? The teacher slaps her. The dad slaps her. The guys attack her at the bus stop. The crazy homeless person, right? And it's just to be a woman in that type of society, everything is dangerous, right?
Feels that way.
I feel like, and it just drives that home. And then when you see Diana, right, that image from the girl's point of view, and she's not wearing the tiara, right? She's just this big, like larger than life woman that has come to save the day. And it's almost like this girl doesn't have context for that. So again, what is going on this island?
It's almost like she's screaming at the very idea that a woman could be this powerful or this confident, and her saying, "Hey, I'll make this right." Like no one's ever like said that to her before, seemingly.
Right.
So I mean, we'll see if that's exactly what this is, but like it's definitely got me intrigued. Like I'm very curious as to where this arc is going, and even that first tease at the end of the last main arc where it teased this Mouse Man stuff, it was like, what the hell is this next arc? And I still am feeling kind of a sense of mystery about it, which is quite nice. So
for a while, up until we get Diana on the island, I thought, I'm like, are they shrunken down? Is that why we're not aware of this Mouse Man area, right? Because she is, you know.
I mean, I see why you're saying that, but we did establish that he had a big giant mouse in that last issue, so I don't know.
Well, but I also thought that's why the cars are being pulled, right? Like whatever happened, it got shrunken, almost like a bottled city type deal. And then when Diana gets there and she's regular size, it's like, okay, it adds more to that mystery of what is going on here. Because if it was like a shrunken, you know, through the Adams technology or whatever, and these people are forced to live here because they can't leave, right? But here it just seems like it's some refugee country, and the idea that Diana says that people from America are refugees here. So it's like, well, why are they leaving America to go to there? Like, is this, you know, what's happening?
Well, I don't know if they're continuously going. It kind of, like, the way they said it earlier on, like, this that happened after the crisis, it kind of sounds like there was one big wave of refugees back then, and then that's been it since.
Yeah, I understand this was a place for refugees from America. Yeah. Okay, that's right. So, reading this a couple weeks ago, that was a gap. So.
I think what's interesting here to me is about this girl's reaction, and the art here is great with the rain pouring down throughout the entire scene. Is, you know, like the line before she tries to speak is Diana saying, "The danger is gone now. You know, it's good now. You cannot be hurt." And I think the context of her being hurt by multiple adult men throughout this issue, and then having Diana say that to her is not an accident. That feels like a very pointed kind of thing to me.
Absolutely. So,
excited. It feels like there's stuff cooking here, as you know, all of the main stories in this book have had. The only time I've ever had an issue is when there's like a fill-in issue with Gil and March on art, and it's all of a sudden doing whatever stupid stuff.
And the story's fine, but we're suffering through the art, you know, on that point. So
very, very good though. What are you giving Wonder Woman 23?
I'm gonna give it a straight 8. The art does a lot of the heavy lifting here.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with the straight 8, and the only reason why is I think the Wonder Woman side of stuff before she gets to this island, when she's on the watchtower, just like talking to people, trying to convince them, I think that stuff is fine. But I don't think it has the atmosphere that the other stuff does, and I don't think it has like the weight of like what that final scene when she actually is there with the girl does. I think that's where it starts to feel special, and it makes me really excited for the next issue. But it's still pretty great though, so 8 out of 10 for sure. So cool. The New Gods, issue 8, Ram V writing with Evan Cagle and Stipan Morian on the art, if I'm saying that remotely correct.
Sure.
So yeah, some New Gods. We got this. Was it Seraphin's the cowboy looking dude who's like infiltrating on behalf of the? Well, I can't even call them dark. Like the Apocalypse, like rejects, and Max Lord.
The people from Apocalypse and Max Lord. This whole after what we see, what's on Max Lord's forehead. I'm calling them the Omega Cult going forward. Just because. Yeah, that's what the vibe is. But yeah, so he's part of the Forever People, which was this Kirby concept of they were kind of these hippies from New Genesis on Earth, and they could all form their power together to make like a Captain Planet type guy that was called Forever Man. And so the fact that he seemed to turn traitor, I want to know what's going on here. So there's a lot not being said.
Yeah, the emotional bookend to this though is that it kind of gets into Highfather or Isaiah, who. You know, it kind of like harkens back to like when he lost like the woman close to him, and that was before he became Highfather, and it kind of led to why he was maybe a bit eager to get with the vengeance and killing back in the early days. But it kind of like sets up like that backstory for him, and this idea of like the source, like not showing him the way, but showing like having the ability for him to see the way that he wants to go, kind of thing. But the actual main part of the main present day story is that they're thanking Superman and the League for giving them some refuge, and they try and like cheer everyone up because Mr. Miracle gets the idea of doing this feast, and they have the Mother Box call out to people who are nearby on Earth to come and kind of celebrate that this is their new home for the time being. So he takes off the mask, and Barda's got the baby, and there's a big feast that happens. There is a scene where Mr. Terrific and Miss Martian are investigating what Max Lord's up to, and they're tracing stuff back to this warehouse, and they know that someone else has been investigating it. There's a cool little sequence here where Miss Martian like sort of goes into like monster form to scare some of these guys that are like trying to attack them. The main plot point that comes out of that, though, is that they're aware that there's a breadcrumb trail left here for someone else, which is obviously hinting at Seraphine, because immediately at the end of this scene, when it cuts to the next page, it's Seraphine who's there. So it's not an accident that he's the very next person you see. That's just a good bit of writing where you cut to the person that's relevant to what they were just saying, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and Miss Martian even says that means there were others here that he does not want us to see.
Yes.
Right. So yeah. So, and he's hiding in plain sight.
Yeah, because he goes to the feast. He goes to he goes to the
dinner. Feast because that's one of those things too that in cultures that when there's like a funeral, right? They've lost some new gods in this war with the third group that aren't from Apocalypse. I forget their name. I think it's the Niktari. If I'm remembering.
That sounds right. Niktari. Yeah.
Yeah. That they've lost people, so they're having almost like this feast to remind you of what life is about, and now there's this interloper that they don't expect. So that goes hand in hand with the trail of breadcrumbs.
And the new Metron's here, buddying up with them. So that's the whole thing.
He looks like what's his name? Barry Keoghan? I can't. Whatever the Irish guy is.
Yeah.
He looks like the character in the Eternals. And I got very confused. I'm like, why is Barry Keoghan here? And then they're like, oh, that's Metron. I was like, oh, snap. That's what Metron has hair? Because I always just assume he's the dude in the chair, right? Yeah. And he's wearing the head thing. And, also didn't realize that Orion was blonde. That was a new one here.
I think I knew that because as soon as I saw him holding Mr. Miracle's baby, I'm like, oh, that's Orion. And for some reason, I just knew it was him. Yeah.
Well, he's wearing Orion's colors. He's got the red and the black and the stuff on. But I was just like, it was making sense of who these ones were hanging out.
Yeah, but to be clear, it's a red t-shirt with a black shirt over it. It's not like he's wearing Orion's outfit.
No, but the red and black are his colors, right? That's his main thing. But he also looks like Flash Gordon. That was a bit of a startle. I also like the archers talking with Green Arrow. I forget her name, but she did some cool stuff a couple issues ago. So there's just a lot of fun things going on here at this, kind of somber dinner.
Yeah, you've got like a 2-page kind of wide panel where there's various conversations going on, and like Barda's complaining about how the doctors and people talk to her in the hospital giving birth. So they're bringing up the birth of the kid intentional because that's going to come back at the end of the issue. There's a sad moment here though where Highfather stands up and basically says that he's not worthy of carrying the staff anymore, the Heika, and says that he's no longer Highfather. He's Isaiah once more, and like someone else can carry this burden. But there's like a little moment at the end of this scene where like Mr. Miracle and Barda, who are in like civvies, they're not in their outfits, are looking over, and he's got like kind of a smile on his face. And that sets up what the final scene is going to be, which is that, Highfather's out like feeling sad next to a tree or whatever, and there's like rain dropping, and he's like, oh, it never rained before unless I wanted it to, blah, 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 blah. And basically the bookend of the issue is that Mr. Miracle and Barda just come over and say, hey, this is our child. We thought you'd like to meet them. And of course, this is technically his grandkid because, Mr. Miracle's his son. So, and it ends in this happy moment where he kind of like sees life again. It's like he's in this depressed stupor all issue, and like he's feel like he's failed the planet. And it's like, hey, here's this new life. Like even with everything that's happened, here's like new hope, new life, so on, so on.
Yeah, and the way that Cagle draws that art, right, is that the guest artist, I forget the name, everything when he goes and embraces the source, it's very sterile, right? And it's blank and it's bare, and then he walks into it and it's all very like It's kind of noisy in the way that there's a lot of geometric patterns, but it's just green with purple framing. When he gets to that last page and he's holding Olivia, his granddaughter, you have that same kind of purple, but it's done in flowers. And it's just teeming with life.
There's actually the panel at the top before the big panel of him holding the baby. You see like the rain's kind of turning into those petals. It's like the happiness that he's feeling is turning the rain into like purple rose petals.
Yeah. Yeah. And just so that thing where everything was stark and he goes into the source, right? Almost for comfort because of what he's had to do in this war of whatever and who he's lost. Right. And it's that purple with the green. And here he looks at the face of his granddaughter and this new life in the future. And it gets that purple again, but it's in a completely different form. It's these free flowing leaves or petals with the rain and stuff. So yeah. And just the smile on Scott's face there on the panel with the hand, right? When the rain is turning into the flower petals.
Yeah.
Just really, really good stuff by Cagle.
Yeah, they were able to give him exactly what he needed. I wasn't expecting the emotional, like, kind of turnaround here for Highfather by the end of the issue, but it was nice and unexpected. There was a scene before this, though, that we skipped over there, which was basically just the Sad and Granny Goodness and Maxwell Lord kind of plotting what they're up to. And they they think Darkseid, will be back, and, that Darkseid, what if he's not gone? What if he is? Right? Alluding to the dark side is once more. So their plan is to steal the new god, the child, and that's the Granny and the Furies are going to fight everyone off, whilst they're going to be doing the stealing of the kid. So they're plotting something big, something bad, to come and get the kid, and they've got their inside person with Seraphim. So. This was like setting stuff up, which is exciting, but there's a surprising emotional through line for Highfather. Like, I don't know if I've ever cared about Highfather as a character in this way before.
Well, because he's always been that guy that he just represents like the kind of the Moses figure or the Jesus figure. He is this personification of this thought form, right? Of this what they're supposed to represent, and he's never really given much we're not given his perspective a lot. So to see he's lost Light Ray, right? That parallels with his love that he lost all at the beginning of this when he's fighting Darkseid the first time and he takes on the form of Highfather. It's almost just like we get the fact that he's done. He's world weary, but there's still life in him. And that's what the thing with the granddaughter is, right? That he's there's still reasons, he doesn't need to be Highfather. That's not his only identity. His identity is also grandpa. And that's how I took that, right? And it's almost like these guys...
Come on, Matt. You could have phrased that as he doesn't have to be Highfather, he can be grandfather. But no, you said grandpa like a fool.
Look, as someone that never met his grandfathers, grandpa was the go-to, all right? But yeah, so... I mean, if you want to cut and we re-edit, I'll start again.
No. They can know your shame. I'm just saying that you could have been a writer there. You could have been poetic.
I could have been, yes. But yeah, so there's just that, and it kind of goes in with a lot of these guys, right? A lot of older guys that when they don't have their job anymore, they almost lose their sense of purpose and meaning. And yet, here's his son and Barda, showing him no, look, this is the meaning of life. Is here. And then just something I want to touch on real quick that you kind of skimmed over with the Max Lord stuff.
Oh, sure.
In Desaad is there's some singularity like a black hole.
Oh, yeah,
that is coming through the universe that looks like it's Darkseid being reborn.
They said it appeared soon after Darkseid disappeared and it's been getting bigger. And instead of sucking stuff in like a black hole usually does, it's more like information is like bursting out of it.
Coming out.
Which, well, I mean, obviously this is tying in at least a little bit to the Absolute Universe stuff, and I do wonder if it's I don't know, I'm thinking about okay, if there's stuff coming out of it, if there's some sort of information or knowledge coming out of it, is that information or knowledge from the Absolute Universe? Not that I think this book is super tied to the Absolute Universe or anything that's going on there, but it is in continuity. It's addressing the fact that Darkseid went away, right, which is obviously a big part of all that stuff. And we're talking about characters who want to have him back, and we know that that's something that is also being built too. So despite how much this book feels very unique in its own thing, it does still feel like it's in continuity. So it's not out of the question that this is related in some form, even if it's very tangential to the main stuff that's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's just the concept of dark side, right? And that the Max Lord's like, well, what if he never died? What if he's looking at us through the other side of the glass?
Yeah.
And it just gives this ominous, like, what's he waiting for?
Yeah, is it a black hole, or is it just a portal to the absolute universe, basically?
Right. Yeah,
I don't know.
So I like that. And then, of course, he has the flipping Charlie Manson-esque carving on his head, but it's the Omega symbol that he is scratching at. And that's very, very creepy. In a book that has Desaad and Granny Goodness, the fact that it's this billionaire with a head carving is the creepiest thing. That says a lot.
Yeah, there was an equivalent to Desaad on New Genesis called The Happy. I'm here all week, folks.
Desaad, The Happy. That
I based that on an old joke about in Spider-Man William Dafoe, but in Aquaman William Dafriend. Anyway, what are you rating New Gods?
Real quick, I'm gonna give New Gods a 9. But yeah, anytime I see Willem Dafoe pop up, he's Willem Dafriend. So
yeah, I think this is. I'm going to go 8.5. And my reason for that is like very good. I love the emotional hook. I like the setup, but it did feel like a setup issue in a lot of ways compared to like some of the other issues that felt so big and epic and like larger than life. This feels a little bit more lower key, which is fine. We need breathing room, but I'll give it an 8.5. So there you go. That's New Gods. So every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, you can make me read a book of your choosing at one of the higher tiers. And today I'm talking about Batman and the Outsiders issue 26. Now, if you remember, last issue ended with the reveal that Cobra was behind the cult that, or the commune, or whatever we're officially calling it.
The commune, the dirty hippies that are brainwashing people for the Cobra cult.
Yeah, so this issue is called Serpent in the Sky, and it starts off with a bunch of Cobra soldiers coming after Geoforce, who's walking that girl that he dated home, Denise, the one who did try to off herself. But he gives her a kiss, walks back the way. They try and spring a trap where they spray him with gas to knock him out. And he goes down, but then when they're getting him back up, they realize he's faking. He's holding his breath, and then he just sort of smashes them together. And a running thing that happens in this issue is that whenever the Cobra soldiers get beat up or defeated, they actually like end themselves in various ways. So there's this bit here where Geoforce like basically like shoulder tackles a tree into two of them, and the tree like gets knocked over. It's a pretty fun panel actually. And when he goes to like lift the tree to question them, they've actually shot each other so that they can't talk. They can't like give up any information. That's how dedicated they are. So you got that. We go back to the commune, and they've got Halo strapped to the table. They've got restraints on the boyfriend character, whose name I'm forgetting, Eric or something. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, and basically the Cobra guy, the leader, is like monologuing about his plans, and Eve, who's his second in command. And we get a bit of backstory here. We get a flashback to how he became the leader of Cobra. And so he talks about how, like he was kidnapped as a child because Cobra, the cult, believed that he was destined to be their leader. And he was raised as such, but he fought the Justice League with the Cobra and lost, right? And the coloring and all this is all very sort of orange and yellows. It's it's definitely going for a flashback thing. So he went to the Indian desert to go on like a journey to find himself and whatnot.
This would be all kinds of 80s problematic, isn't it?
No, he just walks in the desert. There's like no one else there.
Okay.
Although he does get passed out at one point, but he sees like a snake jump up and like catch a bird, right? So that's a fun panel. But he passes out, so he basically has a realization when he sees that what he has to do, which inspires his whole plan here. But he passes out from dehydration, and he's found by a group of nomads who resuscitate him back to health. And Eve, the woman that he's with, is one of these nomads, and he falls for her, and he wants her, and she wants to leave. She wanted out of this. Like she hated being a nomad. She wanted to live in civilization or whatever. And he was in love with her, so he challenged her father for her, killed him, right? So they killed her father to win the right to leave with her, and that's kind of it. So the whole idea here is that his plan is well, a snake catches its prey not by hunting, but by lying in wait and luring the prey to it. That's the whole plan here.
Mm-hmm.
So he basically has the whole cult set up, and so the first members are all Cobra members, but this guy that brought in Halo was actually someone who was just recruited and then became an unknowing recruitment person for the cult. So that's what all this has been about. And his dad being this guy in the military, which they've already drugged. They remind everyone of that. He's going to give them access to the Star Wars program. So this is what's all going on here. So we get a bit of a monologue explaining everything. Although notably, Halo and this guy do have a little moment here at the end of the scene where he's like, "I'm not sorry I met you though. No, me neither." And they're smelling at each other, and I'm like, this guy is so dead at the end of this story. There is no way this guy is making out of this story alive. Because we have to have Halo be miserable more. We can't have her be happy. Just when she's finding some happiness, we have to find a way to make her miserable again. Mark my words, this guy is so dead. Anyway, we cut to a baseball game between Metropolis and Gotham, the Giants versus the Metros. And I think it's Black Lightning, Rex, Sapphire, and Katana are here at the game. And Sapphire's talking to Rex saying, "Hey, I don't think this is working." Katana doesn't look very happy, and they want to take her mind off a Halo and whatnot. But there's some Cobra soldiers who are wearing their outfits. They've got their Cobra outfits on, but they're wearing a trench coat and hat to try and disguise themselves. And I'm like, maybe just don't wear the Cobra outfits. You could just look like a civilian and take your knife out and try and stab them. That could be a thing you do.
But how will they know that it was Cobra, right? They got all glory to the snake god.
I know. The fools, the lot of them.
So they don't think straight, Pete. They're in a cult. Come on.
That's a good point. It's a very good point.
Yeah.
So they're sneaking up behind the four characters with their knives. They're going to stab them in the back. But a home run or whatever happens at that moment, and Rex throws his arms up to cheer, and it knocks the knife out of the Cobra guy's hand. So they turn around, they're alerted. So we get a fight scene in the baseball stadium in front of everyone, and obviously the outsiders win. They do a good job, even though they're outnumbered. At one point it feels like there's too many of them, but then Black Lightning zaps the electricity, so there's a blackout, and they're able to kick the shit out of everyone. Right, so they win. Fun sequence. Good stuff. And then all 7 or 8 of these Cobra soldiers all die. They've all got the pills with the cyanide. They all take themselves out so they can't be questioned. They phone Bruce, right? And they get Alfred. And it just cuts to Wayne Manor. And Bruce and his civvies is just kicking the shit out of Cobra soldiers. They're already there. They know he's Batman apparently because they're all attacking him. So it's very much played for comedy. And there's a whole thing here. And again, they all sort of take them. Well, I think he just knocks a bunch of them out, but he takes one to be an interrogation subject. He does deflect a bullet at one point with a serving tray, and it does hit another Cobra guy. So one guy at least definitely died. But he's able to stop this guy that he takes to interrogate from using his tooth. He kind of catches it, and he's like a tooth with things in it. I caught that. So the guy ends up dying anyway, though, right? So Batman gives him truth serum. The outsiders all arrive, and they're going to interrogate him, and the guy just dies. And they basically deduce that, he must have taken something so that if he's ever giving truth serum, it would react and just die. And I'm like, damn, these Cobra guys thought of everything. They were prepared.
Oh, man.
So yeah,
anti-truth serum poison. That's wild.
Yeah, if I was going to say something is like a hokey thing and not in a fun way, it would be that. Like that just feels like, oh, you're pulling that out your ass just to explain why you can't talk.
Yeah.
But they search his body. Batman gets the magnifying glass out and finds some fibers, and is basically like, hey, the Bat computer can analyze this and get the source, to a reasonable degree and all the rest of it. And this is where we get kind of the villain's plan playing out, where basically the crew that were meant to be on this rocket going into space to deal with the Star Wars program are replaced last minute because this guy's dad, who's like the military dude, was drugged and has like basically infiltrated a bunch of Cobra members, including I think the commander himself. So they go up in the rocket, right? It's a whole thing. We actually get a ridiculous image of the Cobra leader in an astronaut outfit. And again, he's not taking off his Cobra outfit. He wants to keep that bad boy on. He loves wearing that thing. So he's in his astronaut outfit.
With the full hood in the helmet.
Yep, absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
So they blast off and go up to this space station, which is just part of the Star Wars program. And, the whole thing is, it builds to an ending where he basically gets on the computer. He's like, oh, I've won. I'm blah, 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 blah. And he calls the president and says, hey, if you don't pay our ransom, we're going to sell this Star Wars program to the Soviets. Like, that's basically their scheme here. I assumed they were going to do something more nefarious, like they wanted to use it to like fire lasers at like cities or whatever, but they're like, nah, this is all about money. This is like a Hans Gruber scheme. They just want to like find a way to make a quick buck. I mean, maybe they've got nefarious plans for after, but that was the thing that stuck out.
Yeah.
So Batman and co are looking in the region where the soil and like the flowers on this guy's book came from, and they find the commune and are like, oh, that must be the place. It's a commune. Like, yeah, this makes sense based on like what we know, and like Halo must have been here and all the rest of it. So they investigate the lab underground, but it's all empty because they've all went to space, presumably. And this is when they hear Cobra make his commands. The final page is really cool actually, because it's like Cobra's face on the screen saying this demand, right? However, in the ransom he wants, by the way, I forgot this detail, I'm just reading that again now. He wants the contents of Fort Knox. That's what the ransom is. So, very good. So it's his face on the screen, and it's like a full page spread where he's really big in the panel. But like the space station, the Star Wars like station that they're inside is kind of like covering most of his face, but his eyes are in front of it. So it's kind of this really creepy image where, I don't know, it just kind of works. Like it's like a really weird like blend of his face and like the space station at the same time. It looks very menacing. He's got this big grin with his teeth all out. Yeah. And it says next War Stars. And I looked ahead, and the cover for the next issue says, we call it War Stars or we'll get sued. And it says that on the cover, which I thought was funny. But
that is fantastic.
Yeah, so that's amusing. Yeah, it's not a bad issue by any means. I think the villain monologuing feels a little bit whatever. It's a bit tropey having a monologue, and like, the story of how he met Eve isn't that interesting, really. All the stuff with the Cobra going after the Outsiders though is pretty good, and I do like kind of like how big his plans are at the end with taking over the space station and wanting Fort Knox. I think it's a fun cliffhanger. The art there is quite good as well. The fight scenes are pretty decent. Like the Geoforce one at the start's got a couple of fun panels, and the fight in the baseball stadium is probably the bigger one where there's a lot more going on. But yeah, the poison that reacts to truth serum's a little bit in the hokey side for my taste. But yeah, advanced the plot nicely though. I'd probably give it a happy 7.5 out of 10. Just digging it a little bit for a few of those things that I didn't love. And I'm excited to see where the story's going. And how will Halo be upset next? Will her boyfriend be dying? I would guess. I would bet money yes if I was a betting man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not though, so I'm not going to. But there you go.
Oh, fun.
So there you go. That's a Patreon book for this week. So yeah, well, I'll take us out the final part of the show where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, panel/moment, cover art, and top 5 books. Which do we count the books from 2 weeks ago? I guess we do. Otherwise, we won't have 5. So I guess we'll just
I
count.
think we have to. So that was going to be my thing. Do we go for moments? Do we go for covers? Because I've been looking at covers.
We always do panel / moment first.
going.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But I was going to say, are we pulling those from the catch-up books? Because strictly going from
for the sake
3?
of this week, I think everything's fair game. Just for the sake of making it more interesting.
Cool. Alrighty. So panel / moment.
Yep.
There's a couple in the Nightwing annual that I really like. A lot of the stuff with Zani, super freaky. You also have the Francavilla art, so it makes those go. However, mine's gonna be from New Gods, and it's that moment at the table where everyone's talking and they're coming together, because they're it's kind of it's not quite a funeral dinner, but it's along the same side, right? Where they're taking off their costumes, they're in like regular clothes, and they're just being normal beings. And I think in the times that we live in now, it's important to remember that we're all human, even if they are superheroes or whatever. So yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, it's a solid pick. I think mine's is probably going to be from the Nightwing annual. There's a few that I could pick, honestly. I think in general, I really like the moment where the Zani is going after the writer, like when he's like getting close to him and like making the threat. I think that moment's really good and creepy, and really sells the Zani as this kind of ethereal, like otherworldly threat. So I am going to pick that. Yeah. As for cover of the week, I'm actually not sure what I'm picking for this. I'll
talk some through while you look, because you talked the whole time.
Yeah,
right. So Justice League, the Dark Tomorrow one has a really cool. Who's this? There it is. The Fernando Blanco variant that has like almost a silhouette, not quite a silhouette, but like Booster Gold in profile in the back. It has some of these other heroes that none of which really show up in the issue, but it's got Aquaman and Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and Supergirl. I love the composition here. I love the Booster Gold, which funnily enough, Booster doesn't show up either, and he's on all the covers. So that's quite different. And then Superman Unlimited has a Christian Ward variant. It's very mid-century sci-fi. Right on there, wouldn't be out of place with like the Incredibles. I like that one. Tech, there was one on here that I was looking at, has a Ashley Wood 1/25 variant cover, and it's got Batman, doing the vampire type thing with the cape over his face, and then just a group of his villains. You got Man-Bat, Clayface, Joker, Mr. Freeze, and Scarecrow, and it's done with like this sepia tone creepiness. Looks real cool. But my pick, there's a Barda cover. And not only is it a Barda cover, it is Javier Rodriguez, who I believe won the Eisner, right? If not, he was nominated. And yeah, so it's hard not to pick that. But it's got Barda with this like kaleidoscope of colors behind her, a bunch of odd angles. She's got the Mega Rod in her hand. She's ready to go for war. It's also very Kirby-esque, which I am appreciative of. So, yes, that's mine.
Yeah, I have to admit, not a lot were catching my eye as I was looking through them this time. There's decent covers. Obviously, Sampere always does a good Wonder Woman cover, but not my favorite by any means. I'm tempted to say the Nightwing Annual because it's got the Francavilla art. I like the main detective cover. I did notice that Barda cover as well. I think I'm going to ultimately go with the Nightwing Annual just purely because of the colors more than anything else. All the oranges really make the blue and the logo pop. But I don't feel too passionate about the covers this week. I have to say there wasn't that many like really speaking to me for whatever reason. So there you go. Art of the week, Matt.
This week, we're throwing in Cagle, right? We got Sampere, we got Garbett, right? But for me, there's only Cloonan also for the last Halloween. There's really only one pick that I could pick, and it's Francavilla. for Nightwing. Just the colors, the pulpiness, the stuff with Zani making it feel kind of cosmic at the same time. Yeah, man, that's my pick.
Yeah, I mean, Garbett's great. Sampere really puts up a fight, but Francavilla just feels so special to get because we don't get him as often, and it really works for the story it was telling. Felt spooky, like it should, because Zani is a spooky villain. So yeah, I agree. Francavilla is my pick. All right, top 5 books, and this is including everything we talked about, barring my Patreon book, obviously.
Gotcha. All right. So for me, number 1's gonna be Nightwing. 2's gonna be New Gods. 3's gonna be Wonder Woman. 4 is Superman Unlimited, and 5 is Dark Tomorrow. I think I can't remember all my ratings. That seems about right.
Yeah. Okay. My number 1 is Nightwing Annual. My number 2 is Wonder Woman. Number 3 is New Gods. Number 4, I'll go Detective. Number 5, Dark Tomorrow Special. Yep, I feel good about that.
Nice.
So there you go. I will tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics as we normalize things a little bit here. We got Absolute Superman issue 10, Absolute Green Lantern issue 5, Batgirl 10, Poison Ivy 35, Birds of Prey 24, JSA issue 10, Resurrection Man Quantum Karma issue 5. We have Secret 6 issue 6. There's Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong 2 issue 3. And we have the start of Cheetah and Cheshire Rob the Justice League issue 1 as well. Also Teen Titans Go issue 6. But there's some facsimile editions as per usual. So that is what's coming next week. And this is probably a good time, actually, before I wrap up, to just announce we're doing a couple of new things for the Patreon going forward. Where basically there's going to be 2 things every month that we do that's going to be exclusive to patrons and soon YouTube members, because we're actually very close to unlocking that ability on the YouTube channel. But either way you want to support us, you can do it via either of those. But one of the things we're going to be doing is basically we're going to record a book review once a month that's just going to be exclusive. It's a little bonus for patrons. And there's going to be a vote up for patrons in probably the next couple of days from this episode going out to pick which series we go through. Now, obviously, if it's a 12-issue book, it'll take a year to go through, so it won't be like a common vote that you'll get to do. But we'll put up a few options for which book you'd like us to cover, and we'll have that come out once a month. And then the other thing we're doing is basically once a month. There's also going to be an exclusive review where you get to vote on the book every month, and the idea is that we'll put out, if there's enough, we'll put out like 3-issue ones that we wouldn't have covered otherwise, and we'll cover one as per pick by the patrons once a month. Our thinking there though probably is there won't always be 3 options, so what we'll probably do is like throw in a classic series in there as well. And whenever there's like not interesting number 1s, you can vote for the classic series instead. But this is something that we'll be doing starting later in August. So the votes for those will go up in the next few days for patrons, $5 and up. So if you're interested in supporting us and you haven't done it already, and this little bonus sounds like a good reason to do so, then we're going to start doing that. But both me and Matt will be talking about them. So. Yep, that's the idea. So a couple of little bonus reviews you'll get in video form on Patreon. And actually, I think I just said they're both going to be exclusive. That's not entirely true. I think the one that's voted for every month will just be on the show, but the other one's an exclusive series just for Patreon. The voting's what you get for being on Patreon for that the vote one. So I explained that weird. I'll put up a post on Patreon though explaining it in text so you can read it at your leisure. Anyway, that is something we're going to be starting in August. The vote will be up soon, and the vote will run for maybe a week, maybe to just after next week's episode, so like you've got time to go do it, depending on when you listen to the show. But that is what I've got to tell you. Usually this is where I plug Patreon if you want to support the show, but I just kind of explained some new stuff for Patreon. So yeah, thanks to everyone who already supports us. It's greatly appreciated. And I'll have another Patreon book to talk about next week. I'll be doing Planetary. And because of a new patron, soon, because they're also working out a deal with Matt, we will be doing a Patreon book together later this month, most likely. So that should be fun too. So yeah, things happening at Comics From The Multiverse. But otherwise, that is us. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next week for a regular episode. Thank you once again. We'll see you next time. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.